if you were a famous dragon, what would you be famous for? Not what would you like to be famous for. What would you be famous for?
Clearly talking too much.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Brad. Fuck you.
Like monologuing?
I'm not going to disagree.
Monologuing.
Yeah.
You said it. I was just agreeing. I think I would probably be famous for hit and run tactics.
Really?
Yeah, lure somebody in, drop a trap on them, get out. Like, indirect confrontation. You would never actually see me.
I think I would be, I don't think necessarily monologuing, but certainly showboating.
Yeah.
I'd get myself in trouble for that.
You're the dragon that would actually start combat with roll initiative.
Absolutely. I go last.
Oh.
It's a Mimic, the round table Dungeons & Dragons discussion, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome to another episode in our discussion on dragons in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Admin. With me today are Terry and Brad, and this episode is called Famous Dragons, Super Egos, and Tall Tales. But Tall Tales?
Tails.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we've previously covered all the chromatic and metallic dragons that you can find in 5th edition in the Monster Manual, as well as all sorts of dragon-related creatures and templates. We've spent an episode waxing poetic about what powers and inspirations exist for dragons in previous editions. And you can find all these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and dozens of other podcast apps, or you can jump over to YouTube and dig into the entire playlist on dragons that we've built there. This episode, though, is going to break down the majority of the famous dragons in 5th edition so far. Now, we're recording this before Fizban's Treasury of Dragons has been released, so there will probably be a few new and interesting entries by the time this episode comes out. For now, though, watch out for spoilers, because we're about to ruin plot lines and secrets for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, Out of the Abyss, both of the Waterdeep adventures, both the starter set and the Essentials kit, Princes of the Apocalypse, The Curse of Strahd, and also if you're planning on poking around in the anthology books, Candlekeep Mysteries or Tales from the Yawning Portal, we're about to give spoilers on some of those adventures too. And both Ravnica and Wildemount have some unique dragons that we'll be going over as well, but you should be aware that if you are ever going to be playing Storm King's Thunder, you should skip this episode.
Yes.
Surprisingly, not Rise of Tiamat or Horde of the Dragon.
Yeah,
like we'll cover from those as well, but
it's not spoilers in the same way, but
no, Storm King's Thunder has major spoilers.
Yeah, big time.
If you're still here, now that we have said this, then I want to reiterate that the best way to learn about creatures is by watching them in action in the official published adventure modules. I operate primarily on homebrew settings, but I often dig through the adventures to see what the creatures are up to. I find inspiration about their homes, tactics, attitudes, and social structures, and no creature type gives as much inspiration within adventures as dragons. They really stop to take their time to lay out who this dragon is, why they're doing it this way, what the lore is behind them, the way that they don't do it for hobgoblins and
It's the nature of dragons, though, right? They are personalities within the world of D&D. Mm-hmm. They impose so much presence in the world, it makes sense to give them the time of day.
The other part of it, too, is that as we have learned over the course of this podcast, the dragons in the Monster Manual kind of suck.
Yeah, they're boring.
They've got the same kind of... everyone has a different color, a different attitude, and a different breath weapon. And other than that, they're kind of the same.
A dragon's a dragon.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of variety, and then you start to get into the adventure modules, and you find that, oh, this one can also do this, or this one has a really cool background that does that, or...
Absolutely.
There's all sorts of weird layer actions and stuff. So we thought it'd be a good idea now to sit down and kind of break these down, because not every dragon is considered equal as far as the attention that they get in the modules, despite the fact that the Monster Manual looks pretty much standard across the board. It's almost like it's a base template. And I wish that they had said that in the Monster Manual.
I think the more that you read into modules, you're going to realize that yourself, that this is a great starting point, and add the flavor yourself.
But if you're brand new to D&D and you're just using those core books, it seems as though dragons are very basic, and that there isn't any other layers to them, and that it is correct to do that way.
I think they were hoping that through your knowledge of pop culture dragons throughout everywhere else they exist, you could kind of take these templates and then add the character yourself.
Yeah.
But they don't overtly state it in the books, and I think they should.
Yeah.
So we've gone through in the past let's see, we did white dragons, who are essentially hunters, and they're the most dim-witted of dragons, but they still have a basic intelligence like a human does.
Yes.
You think about half the people you know in your real life are still dumber than one of these.
Yeah, they're just food-driven creatures, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're brutal. They're driven by brutality and savagery, and they're bullies. I'm the biggest, strongest thing in the playground, so I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah.
Then there were black dragons, which we covered as well. Black dragons, of course, are from swamps, and they've got basic acid breath. That's their thing. Mm-hmm. White dragons had cold. Black has acid breath. And they are pretty much evil incarnate. They are about as evil as they come.
They're sadistic.
Yeah, they want to see people
suffer.
Yeah, pretty badly, actually. Green dragons are almost as bad. And when we went over them, we discovered that they're actually the manipulators. They're the ones
scheming. Yeah.
Very, very smart and very willing to manipulate everyone around them. Mm-hmm. Blue dragons are also incredibly smart, but they have a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for here?
They're a little more cautious and a little more, they're smarter in the way that they deal, socially smart.
I think blue dragons, what I took is that they want people to be truly impressed by their ability, not necessarily how they tricked you and went through the back door, but how they overtly demonstrated that they are actually better than you.
Yeah, they don't need to do the whole villain speech that you get from a Bond movie. Yeah. They'll just do it, and
they're not trying to. They're not trying to stab you in the back. They're trying to show you how well they can stab you in the chest.
That's right.
Yeah. Then we ran into the red dragons, which are the biggest and the baddest of the chromatic. They're the most evil of evil. And they know they're the best, and they have kind of earned that.
Yeah. Yes, they have.
With the exception of gold dragons. So we worked all the way up for metallic, for chromatic. So we'll work all the way down for metallic.
Perfect.
Gold dragons are the best good guys that will ever be good. Law and good, and we will help everybody, and we're your allies and your mentors, and so on and so forth. I believe you said, Terry, that they're the most boring of the dragons.
I was actually just going to go boring. Yeah. And I thought I wouldn't. I decided not to cut you off. Yeah.
Silver dragons, as Dan said, they're the paragons of good. Whereas
hall monitors is what they are, and they should be getting bullied.
Whereas gold dragons were all about the greater good. Silver dragons are almost like egotistical good. Like it's
virtue signaling. Is what it is.
Shit, isn't it just
Pharisees?
When it comes to copper dragons, I'll skip to copper for a second because they're the practical jokers. They're the ones with the biggest personalities. They're still good, but they're going to be a pain in the ass to interact with.
They're almost fey.
Kind of, yeah. But then there's the bronze and the brass, which everybody gets different. Do you guys remember the difference between them?
Brass is fire, bronze is lightning. Is all I can remember.
Okay, so when it comes to bronze dragons, they're the ones that are seafaring. They're the ones that want to get into combat, and they're all about joining armies and leading armies, and they will often polymorph into a humanoid in order to infiltrate the ranks and then lead an army forward. Mm-hmm. Whereas the brass dragons are, they're quick-witted. They've also got a slow breath as well, whereas the bronze has a repulsion breath. Mm-hmm. So your brass is going to be your social encounters, and your bronze are going to be your combat encounters, or at least that's where they're the most comfortable. Right, of course, you can do any encounter with any dragon. We also covered briefly Dracoliches, which of course are dragons who became liches.
Because
of course. And then there were also shadow dragons that we covered, where these are just a template that you put on any one of the other dragons, just like you do with a Dracolich. But the reason they're a shadow dragon is because they went off into the Shadowfell, they got tempted, they became corrupted, and they've become infused with necrotic energy and darkness and shadow. And so even the good guys can fall and become evil, and the evil ones can become, I don't know, as or more evil than they were before.
Just extra.
I feel more evil black dragon than before.
Yeah.
So other than that, we've covered some draconic creatures, but I think the only ones that we're going to be bringing up today are, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I don't remember what you guys are covering, but I've got at least a dragon turtle and a fairy dragon.
Mine are pretty much all dragons across the board.
I've almost all dragons, but one construct.
Okay, so dragon turtles are, remember, intelligent, and that surprised us when we broke that episode down. Yeah, and like weirdly mercenary.
Yeah, they're way more impressive than I thought they were.
Yeah, and then fairy dragons are not quite fey, but they're fey, right? And they have a variety of different colors. Each color gets a different or indicates a different age and gives them a different ability, magical ability. But they're all mischievous and fey-like. So
They're fun.
they are fun. But before we get started and break it down, guys, have you ever fought a dragon in D&D? And if so, how'd it go? Let's grab dice.
7.
12.
18.
You're going first.
No, I've never fought a dragon in D&D.
No, because you're always a D&D.
I'm running the dragon, but I've never
Run
fought.
plenty. Yeah.
I've never fought a dragon. I would love to fight a dragon.
Did you not fight a Dracolich with me?
No, because Jamie fought the Draculich while I stood on the side and healed him up.
Right.
We let the barbarian do all of the fight. I was technically in initiative, but I never rolled an attack.
Yeah.
And we got halfway through the fight, and he turned around and was like, "Oh, you know what? We'll be friends."
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, okay.
Okay.
Cool. I have never fought a dragon. I have confronted a couple, but I have always been way too low of a level to actually... And we've been smart enough to not try and fight a dragon.
Probably wise. I kicked the shit out of a young white dragon. And I forget how, I think I just got lucky and critted, a champion fighter critted on both attacks or something. I ended up just doing a shit ton of damage by myself as this young dragon flew into the barn, I think, that we were hiding in, flew through the double doors.
You guys set a trap in a barn because you didn't want to fight him out in the blizzard.
Right.
So you guys went into a barn.
That's wise.
And then got him in there, and as he flew in, you jumped out of nowhere with your glaive and just fucking gutted him.
Yeah, that's right.
So you had two
It
attacks.
was more luck than skill. It really was. I mean, my skill was I hit it with my glaive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you had help. You didn't die in the first round, but you did by far the most damage in that. That was fun. You also fought... No, you didn't fight. You sat back and watched everybody else fight because you were being turned to stone at the time.
Right, okay.
There was a blue versus brass dragon fight.
Oh, yeah, no.
And you guys did fight a green dragon. You fought Excantalus at one point, too.
Right, that's right.
So there's... You fought a few dragons, Terry, but they usually ran away or did shit in front of you.
Right, yeah. I think the white dragon was the only one I could remember defeating.
Yeah.
And that's usually the way it is with dragons, right? There's a lot of stat blocks, we'll get into it. There's a lot of them that just fly away at half health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
okay.
They're smart enough to know that.
Yes. So, and that's a good segue. Thank you, Brad. I want to go over what's probably the smartest dragon in D&D lore, and you'd be surprised that it doesn't come from D&D, it comes from Magic the Gathering. So before we start to roll dice and go through all of the ones that are in the adventure modules, I want to talk about Niv-Mizzet. So Ravnica, I'm going to give you a quick basic breakdown here because you have to understand the world in order to understand the dragon. Ravnica provides us with 10 powerful guilds that rule the plane, and one of them is called the Izzet League. They're all about experimentation, and in my head, I always remember that it's the Izzet League because I think that they do an experiment and go, "Is it?
Is it really?"
And Terry just rolled his eyes. You guys can't hear it, but there we go. So they do focus on magical experimentation and the harnessing of the elements. It's led by a dragon named Niv-Mizzet, and he's one of the only 2 proper dragons in 5th edition that isn't given a color. The other being the Jabberwock, which just came out in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But the Jabberwock is a kind of dragon. You can run into many of them. There's only one Niv-Mizzet. Sure, he has red scales and fire breath, but he's not technically a red dragon by the standard D&D categorizations, which is a little bit interesting. He is from Magic the Gathering, which means that they've got their own color system and element system. And while it does still generally follow the same D&D rules, their dragons are just dragons. They're not tied inherently to the color of their scales. So, Niv-Mizzet is gargantuan. He's 15,000 years old, hyper-intelligent, temperamental, and incredibly ambitious. He also gets a stat block for his big ol' CR26 self, and is meant to be an NPC and a leader of sorcerers and other mages. No one knows his endgame, but he has a lot of projects in the works, and he is more concerned with the long game than any immediate gratification.
You live for 15,000 years, you're going to look a little longer term.
Exactly. He actually has an ideal bond and flaw, which I thought was perfect, and should be fucking included with every NPC in any published book.
Yep.
You get his entire personality in the following 3 sentences. His ideal. Innovation. Don't just have an idea, have all of them.
I like that.
Bond. I have spent more than 10,000 years researching the mysteries of the world around me, but there's much more to discover. And flaw. I find it tedious to converse with simpletons who lack vision. That's everything you need to know about his personality. It didn't take 9 paragraphs or a big like bio breakdown in the end of a book. Like that's it.
Direction for DMs, especially newer DMs. Even if a PC asks a question, it's okay. Which one of these do I lean into to answer this correctly as the character would when you're feeling that pressure when you're on stage?
When you look at the structure of the Ravnica book, I still say it's probably my top 3 or 4 publications at this point, just because of how well it was put together. Niv-Mizzet, anyway, is a 20th level spellcaster with heavy hitting spells like Control Weather, Maze, Power Word Stun, and Prismatic Wall. That gives you the impression that he's more focused on defense and living another day than pure destructive power. He also has a crazy ability that allows him to change a spell's damage type to cold, fire, force, lightning, or thunder as he sees fit. And it doesn't impact his action economy, he just does it at his own whim. He also gets a legendary action called Dracogenius, which uses all 3 of his legendary actions to regain a spell slot of 3rd level or lower, which is nuts because he has access to the big scary low-level spells like Magic Missile, Shield, Counterspell, Fireball, and Lightning Bolt. And oh yeah, he can maintain concentration on 2 spells at once.
Wow.
Good luck.
Other than that, he has all the crazy stats and numbers you'd expect from a CR26 Super Genius Gargantuan Dragon creature. He's not just a combat encounter, although he could be. Dragons as spellcasters, look, they're scary as hell. Right. And so the thing that I learned about Niv-Mizzet, or that I learned about dragons in general, is that when you have a big boss, and he is meant to be the big boss in Ravnica, when you have a creature like this, it's not enough to just give them the big fuck you combat stat block. There are options. There are a ton of options, and there is a reason to leave, which means he will always be there in following games as well. You would be hard pressed to kill this guy.
Yeah, he's going to have some sort of escape plan, some sort of way out
Yeah.
in any encounter. You're not going to surprise him at this point.
Exactly. But the big thing that I learned was that you don't have to stick to the stereotypes. The categorization of red is lawful evil and does this. Brass is I think they're chaotic good and they do that. Like you don't have to stick to that shit. You can just do whatever you want, follow the guidelines, but you're allowed to kind of step outside, which is what this episode is about. We're going to look at how Wizards of the Coast has stepped outside their own basic breakdowns of how dragons work. So, is there anything plot hook wise or a lesson that you guys learned from looking at Niv-Mizzet and his stat block about running dragons? You want to roll initiative?
Sure, let's do it. I haven't won one of these in a while.
620. Yeah, you called it.
And
Barry.
it
You called
continues. So.
I think the biggest thing for me learning this is when you are going big, go big, right? When you're going to make your big bad guy break the rules. That's the whole point of having the big bad guy, right? Everyone else that your players are going to face is going to have to follow some rules. They're going to follow some sort of stat block rules, something like that. Throw something at them that they're just not going to expect, not going to know how to deal with, and they're not going to have seen before.
I don't understand the purpose of CR21. I get up to CR20 because your party can only be level 20, so they got to be able to match it. What the fuck's the CR21 creature? Oh, it's as good as your party, but a little bit better. They can probably fight him. They'll take him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What is the point of that? If you're going to go above that level, go to CR30.
Yes.
Just make the jump.
Make it big, big.
Right away.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's I like the CR26. Like,
Yes.
that feels good to me. I'm glad that the Tarask and Tiamat and whatnot are bigger than Niv-Mizzet and could take him in a fight. But I feel like Niv-Mizzet is almost... He's Ravnica's Asmodeus level intellect of like, I am so fucking smart that I have 10,000 contingency plans. And even if you kill me, then my clone in the vat behind is going to activate and come out anyway. And like, you're going to see that kind of shit out of these big, high intellect creatures. And you really get that feeling from him. And I like the idea of, even if you defeat me, you haven't defeated me.
Yeah, there's going to be. Yeah.
So that's what I was getting out of Niv-Mizzet is when you are dealing with your big campaign setting. I've noticed, and you get this in Theros and Wild Mount and all of them, when you get it, you always get 3 or 4 of these big heavy hitters. Niv-Mizzet being one of them now. These guys are the ones that are supposed to endure, and they are world defining. Yes. You're not meant to kill them. They will always be an issue in the world, even if you banish them or lock them in one of the 9 hells. They're always going to be there. They're always going to come back.
Yeah. I love these big, super mega creatures like this, but I like to use them where they are useful to the party throughout the campaign, even to the point where the party maybe contributes to their power because they're on your team, or at least you have the same enemy. But then I like the idea that it builds and builds and builds, and then, hey, what happens when you can't turn the supercomputer off? Or what happens when Skynet decides that you're now the enemy and they're no longer on your team?
You have an Ultron.
Yeah, and I love that because one PC at a time will start to ask questions all the way through the campaign.
Well, what's interesting is Ravnica and Niv-Mizzet lean right into that because you are supposed to be a part of one of the 10 guilds, and you can choose any of them. So you can choose the Izzet League, and they've got a renown system. So there are 4 different ranks in it. When you get to the rank 3, you are actually on a first-name basis with Niv-Mizzet.
Right.
And he is giving you direct tasks. He's been barking orders from afar this whole time, but now he's like, great, you've stepped up, you're a director now, here you go, I need you to do this. And it's still going to be aligned with whatever quest, because your DM's going to, make that parallel. But you are actively working with him, and at no point are you ever going to, double-cross Niv-Mizzet. He
can't.
He runs a magical experimentation mafia.
Yeah.
The fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Right? And he's 15,000 years with 9 other opposing guilds.
He's
they've
seen it all.
tried.
Yeah, he's seen it all.
But everybody's had that day at work where they go, I'm not sure I agree with this decision. But it's like, okay, how much do you rock the boat when it's Niv-Mizzet,
Yeah.
Hey guys, I want to take a quick second to stop everything and ask, how are your balls? Are they nestled in a dense forest of man stank? Are they stubbly and irritated like Terry's personality most of the time? Are they covered in nicks and scrapes and are too tender to even the tenderest touch? Whether they are bound in a cotton prison of hellish aromas or swinging free and battering against a rough and angry wall of denim, I think it's clear that you could be nicer to your manly bits. And that's where Manscaped.com comes in. Their website has a number of amazing products for all of your testicular needs. Okay, well, not all of your testicular needs, but definitely the grooming ones. You see, you can go right now and jump onto their website and peruse their catalog, or you can trust me, your dear friend and apparently advocate for balls everywhere. You see, Manscaped has supported It's a Mimic because they believe in us, and we believe in them. They sent Dan, Terry, and I the Performance Package 4.0, which includes their ear and nose hair trimmer, which is called the Weed Whacker, their anti-chafing deodorant, their ball spray toner, some disposable shaving mats to lay out under your work zone while you shave, and the Lawnmower 4.0, which is the single best razor I've ever used on my precious gems or anywhere else. It reduces cuts with its skin-safe technology, it has a spotlight to help with visibility where the sun don't shine, and it's waterproof, so you can use it for minor touch-ups right in the shower if you want. But the Performance Package also offers a really snazzy travel bag and a pair of anti-chafing boxers to help things, to feel great. And of course, if you use the promo code It'sAMimic21, that's It'sAMimic21, all one word. If you do it before December 15th, then you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. So for the love of your balls, and anyone who may have the occasion to behold them during the holiday season, do yourself a favor and order the Performance Package 4.0 now. I remember the first time I tried to clean up the old basement, and let me tell you something. One very tender young man with a secret shame walked around with hot wax strips glued to his nethers for about 3 days because he tried a little hair removal without knowing what the fuck he was doing. And he gave up about a third of the way through and lived a sticky, pube-pulling life for about half a week. It was beyond miserable, and running, biking, and swimming were absolutely out of the question. If I had known then about the Lawnmower 4.0 or the pampering products at Manscaped.com, I would have saved myself a lot of effort, pain, embarrassment, and awkward limping. So learn from my mistakes. Don't settle for an inferior product or a jungle in need of a proper bushwhacking. Get the Lawnmower 4.0 and the rest of the Performance Package 4.0 at Manscaped.com. You can use promo code It'sAMimic21 for 20% off and free shipping before December 15th. You can check the show notes below. Your balls will thank you.
Okay, so we've got 29.
27.
No, 29 with Niv-Mizzet.
right,
I got
I guess
one at
we're adding
end.
the extras, yeah.
So we have 29 dragons to go through today. So let's grab our dice and roll initiative and just launch right into them.
All right,
We're going to start with the big
Hey,
guy.
Terry! There
Shit,
it
I'm
is.
going
You
first.
did it.
I didn't want to go first on this one. When I said that last time, it's okay.
So let's start with the big guys. We'll work our way down to kind of the oddballs. But these are all, or not all, the mass majority of the named dragons in the Dungeons and Dragons publications that have come out up to, but not including, because I haven't looked into it yet, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So all of the publications up till this point, if there are a whole bunch more dragons in 3 or 4 years, we'll do a sequel to this and we'll make other people prep it because this was a lot of work.
I'm not doing it.
All right, Terry, you're first. I'm going last with a 14.
Yeah,
I was not paying attention.
Okay, I'll open up the dragon discussion with the ancient red dragon known as Klauth.
Klaus.
Klauth.
Oh, I
Klauth with the list.
That's what I led into the German pronunciation. Klauth.
Mike Tyson saying
Yeah,
Klauth.
Klauth.
An ancient red dragon. I don't have an exact age for Klauth, but Klauth was quoted as saying, I am as old as time itself. The infinite wisdom of eternity is mine to command. And for such an active dragon as his age, he was actually able to live longer than he normally would by doing some sort of crazy things with dragon eggs to increase his size, his health, and his vigor. You can run into Klauth in Storm King's Thunder, and Klauth has a lair in the northern area of the Sword Coast in a place called Klauth and Vale.
He named it after himself?
He named it is all the
Of
best.
course he did. It's called Big Egos, right?
He's
Like,
an
look at
ancient
the-
red. Like, of course he did.
As all the greatest big bads do, and they're
Trump
in
Tower.
they're mountains west of Miirym. Exactly. He's also known as Old Snarl, and Old Snarl is known for using his scrying spells and abilities to learn as much as possible about the other inhabitants of the Sword Coast. So this means he's rarely caught off guard. Klauth has been attacked, and an attempt to defeat Klauth has been done, but it's been done by multiple dragons at once. I believe it was 2 white dragons and a blue dragon, who are named dragons, attempted to kill Klauth at the same time, and he managed to get rid of them. So he's incredibly powerful. Something interesting about Klauth is he is not against acts of generosity if he does not deem you to be a threat. And if you're a smart PC, which none of us are, you would pick up on this. As long as Klauth is being nice to you and even giving you gifts, even magic items, that mean he does not deem you to be a threat. If that generosity starts to reduce and the tone starts to change, you should, even not necessarily go into negative yet, but that generosity is being removed. That should be a huge sign to you that things are not going as planned for you.
When you don't get the Christmas bonus from him, it's time to fucking run.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And then there's no explanation. Hey, Klauth, how's it going? Fine. Okay. Is Klauth acting different today?
Yeah, January 2nd, I'm
Time to
looking
go.
for work. Yeah.
Time to go.
Yeah, Klauth actually has a pair of magical wands as well. I believe he has, I think it's Fireball and Lightning Bolt or something like that. And he can actually...
Lightning, very, very frightening.
Exactly that. In a single action, he can use them both as well at the same time. He does
Nice.
have innate spellcasting. He has a whole bunch of spells you guys should look into. But he is an incredibly powerful ancient dragon that I feel essentially gives you permission to add backstories and flavor to those bare bones dragons that you see in the player's handbook.
Yeah, and Dan always rants and bitches. His number one complaint is that dragons don't have spellcasting. Like standard.
Well, this one does.
Yeah.
Well, and most
Most
of
of the
them
ones we're gonna
do,
discuss today.
which is one of the things that they always add on,
Yes.
and yet it's not part of the standard. Is that because they want different spells? And if that's the case, why not just say choose from the wizard spell list,
Yes.
right? Or whatever, like they do for bards or...
You have to play the percentages in this game, and you have to understand that the fact that this game is growing in popularity so quickly, I would say 70% of the players right now don't know what they have permission, in quotes, to do with creatures, which is why you should listen to the It's a Mimic podcast. But so they need to be more clear with that in the
I mean,
the books.
dragons were introduced early, right? I don't think the edition was still defining itself, and as they started to release, because the dragon template, as we would call it, came out well before any of these books did, right? Or just before.
Well, I mean, the Monster Manual was, I believe, the second book published.
Right, exactly. So at that point, they were still figuring out who these dragons were. So of course they didn't do that. I think we're going to see more of that in Fizban's.
Yeah.
I think that's going to kind of give us how to create a dragon.
Yeah.
How to make your dragon.
The other thing that I take from this is if you don't want to do the homework on how to build a spellcaster and put it on top of a dragon, give them wands
Yes.
and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's just that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
How does a dragon hold a wand in its dragon form?
In its massive claws. I'm assuming it can hold a fistful of like 40 wands.
I was
Just
gonna
shake
say,
a
how
fist
does,
and everything.
but how
goes.
does it hold one wand?
Itty bitty clawed, like just very genteel.
Just little tiny Trump hands.
Yeah.
That's the only part that doesn't change. It's just the hands at the end.
That's awesome. All right, let's keep this ball going. We're going to say a lot of dragon names. There's going to be some mistakes made, but I think I'm okay with this one. Iymrith is the one that I'm covering first here, also out of Storm King's Thunder, and Iymrith is an ancient blue dragon. Love an ancient blue. She is known as the Doom of the Desert and is the final encounter of the module. She is your final... I mean, they give you options to go on after, but as far as written content in the book, this is the last.
Yeah, this is the big bad.
This is the big bad. So she has the ability to shapeshift, not into a human form, but into a storm giant form. So we talked earlier about how we were going to cover some spoilers for Storm King's Thunder. Here
There
they
it
are.
is. That's
Here
one
it
of
is.
them,
This
yeah.
is the big one. She used this ability to transform in order to basically deceive the king's daughter and work her way into the ranks of the giants.
The Storm King himself.
The Storm King himself.
Yeah.
She was in his inner circle and manipulating what was going on. This is why she's the big bad. This ability to shape change into a giant form has probably the most interesting lore aspect, in my opinion. Right? You have so many dragons, especially your chromatics, that shape, well, only your chromatics, which is annoying. We'll get into that. But your chromatics that all shapeshift into a human form, right? Generally speaking, as far
No,
as...
it's only the metallics that can.
Is it? Sorry, only in metallics. Yes, my apologies. Backwards. So here we have a
Chromatic
who can shapeshift not into a human form, but into a giant form, which I think is really cool. The other thing that stands out about her is the fact that she's allied with Yuan-Ti, and there's a Yuan-Ti cult that is operating within her lair to summon Dendar the Night Serpent, who is the goddess of the night and darkness.
Yeah.
Right? We've covered that in a Yuan-Ti episode. If you want more
Yep.
information, check out the Yuan-Ti episode. But yeah, so they have actually been manipulating her, and Dendar as well has been manipulating her because she basically is in fear of the giants. So in that fear, in order to try and get more power, she's trying to make a deal with Dendar, but Dendar's just like, nah, screw it. I'm just using you to get to my own ends. Sure. So,
I like the fact that even ancient dragons
can be manipulated by the gods.
The gods are still another tier up and
Yeah.
above, right?
Absolutely.
And even, I mean, when you fight Tiamat, who's a CR30, that is the avatar. That's not Tiamat herself. Like,
Correct.
we still don't have a proper god stat block. We only have avatars of them, and some of them are kind of weak and shitty, like Oriel, the Frost Maiden, right?
Yes.
So, it's neat to see this.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat to know that your big bad evil guy is still just the Shredder to Krang.
Yes.
Krang in the background of the Technodrome going, "Meh,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like these ancient they're scary, but there's much scarier out there. Another little fun fact about her is she collects baby purple worms for fun and raises them.
As in a little glass box?
Yeah, basically it's a pit. And so she collects the eggs, puts them in the pit, hatches them, and she uses them basically like a pit trap. So if you happen to wander into the pit, the purple wormlings are going to devour you.
A bit of a Tremors vibe there.
Yeah.
Things you can do.
Pretty
with
fun.
that. Okay.
She makes her home in an abandoned dwarven amphitheater. That's her lair.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool spot. Now, mechanically speaking, she's not that interesting. She's got your basic ancient blue dragon stat block.
Her shape changing is fun enough.
Her shape changing that's really the big one. And the other thing, we talked about it earlier, innate spell casting, she gets it. I think, are there any exceptions? Every dragon I'm covering today has charisma as their casting stat.
Yeah. Me
Have you found any exceptions?
Me too. It was all
I
charisma.
believe that Niv-Mizzet was intelligence.
Okay.
Right.
But any of the rest, I think they're
think
mostly
most of
charisma.
them
That's
are,
where they
yeah.
tend to go. And so with that, she can cast, she only has one spell, but it's stone shape. But instead of standard stone shape, she actually turns the stone into living gargoyles.
Okay. Sure.
So that was
So she can create just gargoyles out of stone.
correct.
That's kind of fucking nutty.
Yeah, it's very and quite powerful.
That right there for me is like, because gargoyles are weirdly powerful, like
Yes.
surprisingly so.
Yeah.
So having them pop up mid tier 2 and be a consistent issue before you fight her in my home,
Yes.
like if I were going to use her.
Oh
in
yeah,
my
you're
home
going to
campaign,
have this be a
Gargoyles are going to be a big thing for a long time for
Yeah.
Yonder. Purple worms too. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool that you get some themes that don't seem connected at first.
Yeah.
until-
I was trying to think how I would connect them. How for a typically a desert-dwelling dragon. It's now linked with giants and gargoyles.
Especially with the polymorph, you could have it like, oh, there's the queen that raises purple worms over in the distant kingdom. And everyone's like, oh, we're gonna meet this queen someday, not realizing that it's also the guy with all the gargoyles and the dragon and
it's the same person.
It's all the same person.
Yeah. The one other cool thing I want to cover with her is just her hoard. Because she buries it in sarcophaguses under the sand. Sarcophagi, my apologies. Sarcophagi under the sand. But they're actually protected by magic that you, basically, warding magic. You can't see them, you don't know they're there unless you bump into them. And inside of that, that's where she keeps her treasure. But it's also guarded by 4 storm elementals.
Nice.
Wind elementals.
Okay.
Wind elementals.
Sorry,
so basically,
storm elementals existed in 4th edition. They don't in 5th.
Oh,
so I was all
okay.
excited.
wind elementals, but they use the coin. They bring the coins into them, so they have like this extra bludgeoning damage.
Oh,
that's cool. I like that.
So yeah,
there's a lot to be inspired by just reading her little bit. Right
absolutely.
There. Yeah. Okay, so mine is. I took all the really hard names for myself. I tried to anyway, so bear with me. These are made up fucking garbage words, but here we go. This one actually sounds like a garbage disposal. It is Karkethzerethzerus, the Sable
the disabled?
No. The Sable Despoiler.
Okay.
It's that big thing on the back of the car to keep them down.
Yeah, Karkethzerethzerus.
It's a Sable with a spoiler. Got it.
Nope, is an ancient silver shadow dragon who's essentially name-dropped in Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, but barely supported outside of their own 2 paragraphs. There's no stat block, so you have to use the Silver Dragon stats with the Shadow Dragon template from the Monster Manual. He used to want to protect the forest that he shared with the nation of refugee wood elves and other woodland creatures, but of course Shadow Dragon, he got corrupted and fell, and now he wants to destroy it all. So now the woodland is petrified, and beings from the Shadowfell enter the world with increasing frequency. His lair is hidden, his goals are unknown, and he seems to know the secret locations of the weak spots in reality where the Shadowfell bleeds through. Interesting sidebar, the word Sable, as in the Sable Destroyer, is a bit of a play on words here. Sable is another word for the color black, meaning the name and title are Karkethzerethzerus, the Black Despoiler, which when he fell, I mean, Shadow Dragons are black, right?
Black.
So that's cool. It gives kind of the idea of the physical corruption of a silver dragon, basically confirming that he's black in color. So, but it's part of his title and his name, so it's like he is so dark and black that like he would disappear in the night sky almost, right? Like that alone gives me inspiration. But a sable is also a kind of small woodland critter, like a weasel.
Like a weasel, yeah.
And he's corrupted the woodland, so I assume that he's corrupted some of them, and they're spies and slaves and soldiers and whatnot. So he has despoiled the sables as well. So I don't know. I thought the name was kind of funny. That's some fucking Mercer level shit going on there. One of the things that I love about Karketh, which I didn't really realize during the episode on Shadow Dragons, is that you get to finally, in canon by the rules, get a metallic dragon who can polymorph normally, right? But none of the chromatics can. So you can't get an evil dragon to polymorph. But if a metallic dragon falls to the Shadowfell,
they can still polymorph.
Then now you have an evil polymorphing dragon.
Oh, by rules is written.
By rules is written. So that I thought was a neat little technicality. That's the only way that I found that you can do it without just homebrewing your own stupid shit. Yeah. So the biggest inspiration I got from Karkethzerethzerus, which is the most Dan fucking name for a dragon out of all.
I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
Even as a shadow dragon, the silver dragon is still annoying me.
The biggest inspiration I got from him is that dragon protectors with the best intentions are still incredibly fallible.
Yes.
So we talked in the Silver Dragon episode about how silver dragons are the paragons of good. And they might even have like an exclusive, remember this, Terry, the VIP only section on the top of the mountain. You have to be so good in order to get in. But once you get in, you can never leave and all that. And then the Shadowfell corrupted him. Where he did exactly that on this little peninsula and let all of these displaced wood elf refugees in and said, I've created paradise. Then got corrupted and turned it to shit, which is even more tragic. Like, I like him because we saw a silver dragon fall. And that kind of shit makes Dan upset.
What I will say is, to me, silver dragons would seem to me actually some of the most prone to this. because they're so proud of their goodness
That was
pride
our
is-
argument, and
Yeah.
Dan was like, no. They're so good that they don't even have pride.
Oh, that they're...
Nah. They're-
Nah, he tweaking.
Thanks, Brad.
Nah, he tweaking.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
All right, let's roll again for the next.
Brad was like, hard no on that.
No.
I've never seen you so sure of anything. Nah.
All right, let's roll again.
All right, let's do it. Oh, that's a nat 1 for me.
17.
All right, I'm a 10. Terry, what do you got for round 2?
Oh, let's
2 in a row, by the way, there, Terry.
I know.
You just gotta complain a little
I
more
have this
often.
one written out phonetically.
I've done that twice in mine as well.
Okay, my next dragon, and I'll try and get this correctly, is Claugiyliamatar,
Sure.
who is
None of us are gonna correct you.
a female green dragon. I believe is adult. I forgot to write it down here, but I believe is adult. Who tried to influence the politics of Waterdeep and Neverwinter through her own criminal gang. And Clog, as I'll call her, was always fascinated by powerful elven and human females and the spells that transform dragons into humans. Her main aspiration was to be one of those powerful women living in the hustle and bustle of the city, very Sex and the City all of a sudden. However, finding a way in which to do so without risking her safety proved quite problematic. Ancient green dragon I just read here, and you can find Clog in Storm King's Thunder. What I like about this dragon is that if the PCs learn to avoid always fighting dragons, Clog is actually a key source of information within this adventure, within Storm King's Thunder. She's actually also a great representation of a strong female character, I thought. I really lent into that. I could see what this dragon was supposed to represent in trying to bring more inclusion, trying to bring more women into the game, and I thought that was a great representation of that. Also, to be used in a way that was not combat is to help the PCs realize that dragons can be used in a different
And even
way.
as an evil dragon too, which is fun to see.
Yeah, exactly that. So I want to talk to you about something particularly devious that Clog did. So I'll try and get this story right. So Clog disguised herself. There was a bounty out to kill her. She disguised herself, I believe, as a silver dragon to go to the person that issued the bounty to tell them that she would go and kill herself, to which they did not know. Went away, put on this big show, which was kind of, if you can imagine yourself, like Johnny English style, behind the curtain of the shower, like, like coming in and out of the mountain. Looked wounded, stole the money that was supposed to be given as the reward, went back, asked for the reward. They didn't have it because she'd already stolen it, but they didn't know. Then said that she now wants a ship full of money instead, or some other treasures. Went back, demanded double the reward, and it just like snowballed into this huge thing, and they just didn't know. And I thought that's so Green Dragon.
Yeah.
That's
That is
mafia.
100%.
That's
very much
brutal.
so.
And that is because, I'll be the first to say it, women are smarter than men and would think like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't think like that.
No.
We're just like, there's a bounty. Excellent. Let's go and get the bounty. The only way through brute strength. That's all we do. But that is Clog, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I thought she was great.
That's really clever.
Strong, brilliant woman. You don't even bother to learn her name. Typical man.
Don't put that on me. So the internet's already coming at me. I know. There's going to be 23 DMs tomorrow that I'll ignore.
Yeah.
All right, so I think
That's
I'm
at
next on.
Send Noobs D&D.
Yeah, no one's checking that.
All right, mine is actually another strong female dragon, who is Burney the Barber from Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus. Burney the Barber is an ancient copper dragon named Balarastool from Baldur's Gate. She masquerades as a cheerful, tidy human woman who comes from the Kalimshan region of the Forgotten Realms. Translated into the real world, she presents herself as a vaguely Arabian woman who is neat, helpful, and knowledgeable.
Cool.
She offers regular barber services for 1 gold piece and will provide medical services with a healer's kit and herbalism kit, and sometimes even magic, free of cost, because she's just good like that.
Isn't a gold piece a little expensive for a barber?
For a haircut,
Yeah.
I don't think that there are many people. I mean, it's medieval times. Who was cutting their hair regularly?
Yeah, I guess so.
I only use gold in my games. I'm not sometimes silver. I'm not messing around with copper or anything like that. Every beer is a gold piece.
So, while she does her work, she entertains her customers with fanciful and often fictional stories. Copper Dragon, that makes sense. For good customers who are open to her, she can even provide small quests. But don't try to pay her with a soul coin, because she will get very disappointed, and she will change her opinion of you, and she's not even going to touch the soul coin. She doesn't want any part of that shit. In reality, though, she is operating directly for Bahamut as a spy who is keeping a watchful eye out for the followers of Tiamat in Avernus. That's important
cool.
because that's where Tiamat is actually imprisoned.
Right.
Some interesting blessings that she's received directly from Bahamut are that creatures who take 3 or more steps away from her can no longer remember her or what their interaction was unless she wills them to.
Oh, wow.
Another one is that she's permanently under the effects of the Mind Blank spell, which means she can't be detected by magical or mundane means unless she wants to.
Mm-hmm.
She cannot take actions against the inhabitants of the 9 Hells herself, but she is allowed to coerce others to operate on her behalf. And she always knows the location of the Wandering Emporium, which is a wandering marketplace on the back of many massive, ever-moving infernal war machines that cross Avernus seemingly at random.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, so there's just like a bunch of these huge machines with a market on the top, and she's in there, offering her services. She doesn't just know where it is at all times, though. She can also teleport there on a whim and shows up ready to do business most mornings. Once per day, she can also teleport herself to the court of Bahamut via a powerful blessing that is similar to the plane shift spell. Honestly, I thought there was a lot of fun roleplay opportunity here for her, but the 2 biggest things that I learned from researching Burney the Barber are that A, Bahamut is directly involved in hunting down and squashing out enemy forces, like a general overseeing a division of spies, and I think that's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
And B, dragons make amazing fucking spies.
Yeah.
Metallics, anyways.
Well, come on, a green dragon is going to be a blue dragon? It never occurred to me to have a dragon be a spy, but come on. That's
I think there's an opportunity with this NPC for like some Harry Potter level tragedy at the end, because that is one of the bravest jobs you can ever have.
Absolutely.
Is to be amongst the enemy like that. But
And right
also,
at the end, they're going to die.
you just got my mind racing with inspiration for what would happen to you, even as a dragon, if you are constantly under the effect of a spell. If you're constantly and I would maybe show like signs of dementia or Alzheimer's, forgetfulness, or something like that. Little hints.
But these are not spells, right? These are blessings from Bahamut, so there's not going to be a downside. Normally, I think you're right, but for her specifically, she's just able to maintain her perky copper dragon perspective on the world because she's there with a righteous mission, and she's legitimately helping people.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, to be a dragon like that living in Avernus is going to do you some harm if you don't have some sort of protection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I am going to cover Themberchaud, or Ember Chad.
No,
I
Themberchaud.
already don't like Ember Chad.
He's an adult red dragon found in the Out of the Abyss books. He is also known as the Wormsmith. He is responsible for keeping the forges burning in the Duergar city of Gracklstugh. Gracklstugh?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Duragar frustrated me at the best of times.
Anyways, so his so-called caretakers are called the Keepers of the Flame. And in return for keeping the forges burning, they bring him gifts such as meals, treasure, gold, coin. So basically, he runs their forges, he keeps them hot, and they reward him.
What kind of dragon is he?
He is an adult red.
Okay, so fire.
So fire. Gotcha. Yeah, right. Makes sense. Now, here's the thing. These psionic clerics, right, because Duragar, they are, right, obviously mind controlling this adult, or working to manipulate the mind of this adult red dragon. He's starting to kind of put the pieces together. Okay. He's kind of starting to realize just how big and bad and important he is, and realizing these gifts are like a paltry sum compared to what he should be getting. So he's basically looking for a way out. He's plotting. He's waiting. He's a red. He's still smart enough to know. That said, they also keep him fattened up and plumped. So he's a little out of shape. He's a little on the heavier side. So he hasn't done any fighting, right? So he's not. Yeah. He's not physically strong like you would normally expect a red dragon to be. He's not going to be. I mean, he's still a red dragon, but he doesn't know his capabilities.
He's not the apex. He's not an alpha red dragon.
So he's looking for a way out. That said, the Durgar are also waiting for an opportunity to kill him because they have another egg that they're waiting to hatch.
I love these chess matches happening around dragons.
Yeah. So they just know that, okay, this guy's eventually going to get big enough and strong enough that he's going to figure out that he can take us all on. So before he gets to that point, we're going to have to off him and make sure we have another one ready to keep the forges burning.
Right.
So there's a lot more of the story, but it's not necessarily related to him. But that's the part you need to know as far as Themberchaud or Themberchaud is concerned.
Themberchaud.
For me, the role-playing opportunity here is the concept of actually keeping a dragon as like an indentured servant, or as, right, with their ego, you just got to keep paying them and keep them thinking that they're important, but you can actually manipulate them into doing your bidding, especially if you've had them since they were wormling.
I would say the only ones that you would not be able to thoroughly manipulate would be gold. Good luck. You're going to have trouble with that. And then green, you're going to have difficulty with. And I'd say even blue. But blue seems to be the most like self-aware of all of them.
Yeah,
I guess we can talk about nature versus nurture in that case too, though, right? If you're managing to get them from a wormling and to at least keep them the information that they're fed as far as they know, especially if they're isolated from the rest of the world doing a task for you, and you're telling them that they're the biggest, greatest, they can see that they're more powerful, but as far as they know, there's no other world, you could probably keep it going at least for a little while. And so I really like that idea of what happens when you get a wormling egg, or, a dragon egg, you hatch it. What do you do with that wormling? So I think this kind of gives you
First,
an example.
you put on
of
your of gloves.
Yeah, of course. Right. Yeah, you don't want to get burnt. But yeah, so that's kind of what I pulled out of that. Right? How long can you actually keep a wormling or a dragon under your control before it eventually realizes that it's bigger and better than you?
I love putting dragon eggs in all of my campaigns to find out what everybody's going to do. But the problem is, I never get the dragon beyond wormling status to find out what happens. Because they live too fucking long to do that. I need to start having time vortexes and shit. Yeah. Just so I can watch
the dragon.
Well, you play with time play quite well between campaigns.
Yeah.
I think you could move that dragon character, as you go into the future and you move around, and you can have it present elsewhere.
Yeah, I have multiple campaigns going, so I could do that, but I really want to see, like, I raised this from a wormling to an adult.
Yeah, you need one of those 30-year campaigns.
Unless you're one of those elves, you're not going to do that.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. So that's kind of role-playing. And then mechanically, there's really nothing special about him. He is just a standard adult red dragon.
We do get that sometimes.
He doesn't, in fact, I would even rule that he doesn't get lair actions.
It's not really his lair?
No, it's not his lair. It doesn't specifically say that in the book, which I found surprising. But I think if I was running that, I would not count it as a lair for him.
I would do lair actions, but only out of the way of keeping it interesting. But I would maybe adjust them. Just have some quirky things happening.
Certainly not regional effects.
No.
Because he's not in control of the region.
That's right. Yeah, so that's Themberchaud. An interesting character, but... really, there's not that much about him in the books.
I do like the idea of capturing and coercing a dragon. We're going to see that again. As they get weaker and weaker, there are more people trying to control dragons as well. Let's grab dice and roll again. We're on to the next round.
We're on the next one.
5.
13.
All right,
Lucky
Terry,
13.
roll off.
1.
7. All right, so, Brad, you're first.
All right, so we're going to go to Ashtyrranthor.
Of course we are.
So, of course we are. Another adult red dragon. I got 2 in a row. Lucky me. Ashtyrranthor, though, is found in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and you could call her the Mother of Dragons.
Well, we already have 3 Mothers of Dragons. We have literally Tiamat. We have literally Khaleesi. We have literally Pepperina. So,
Oh, true. All right, well, I'll explain
Who win in a fight out of those 3?
Pepperina.
That for sure. For sure.
The other 2 would be deaf by the end of the... Dragons! That's right, Peps. Come at me.
Dragon? How did you get a Y in the word dragon?
Ask the Midwest. Ask the Midwest. Anyways, so Ashtyrranthor is the mother of 6 young red dragons.
Oh, shit.
And so I've got 6 more names for you. Are you ready?
No, but hit me.
God.
Are you ready? Ashtyrranthrax.
Of course.
Hold on. Glazhael, Infernexus, Meteor Anzine, Smoke Cant, and Zolchars. They all have fire theming
A red
in
dragon named Smoke Cant.
I know, right? All right, so this is interesting. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Her home is in the Crystal Labyrinth, which is a hollowed out asteroid, which she shares with the Githyanki.
Okay, fine. Do they willingly share it with her?
Yes, this is Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, which is almost a funhouse dungeon.
Yes, it really is.
It's supposed to have every level is weirder than the one before. So.
Yeah, it just keeps getting weirder. So yeah, there's a portal here that takes you to this hollowed out asteroid that the Githyanki are using as base of operations.
Okay.
And Ashtyrranthor just tends to also make her home there with her 6 children.
Okay.
All right. So you'll see her, depending on how well you navigate it, you could see her flying around because she tends to circle around, check in on her lair, and then just fly a lap to this asteroid.
Well, and it is all underground too.
Yes, it is, technically. But
I mean,
also being out surrounding
gigantic,
the moon.
gigantic chasms, but
Yes.
it's
It's too stressful.
Yeah.
I like a well-swept stone's floor.
I
My
understand.
D&D.
You should talk to Dave. He's running Mad Mage right now. He has no idea this shit is coming. He's like level 6 or 7.
This is 16, I think, or 17, somewhere in that range. So he's got a ways to go. Anyway, so the fact that she made her home on a hollowed asteroid is already a cool. I mean, again, this is something that you can really only do in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, or you're doing some sort of spelljammer or weird gift like plane hopping.
You get enough weird freaking mind flayer shit going on too.
Yeah,
Like,
you can.
There's space. There is space.
There is space.
There are stars.
And there is ways to navigate it based on
Yeah.
planar hopping and teleportation and things like that.
Yep.
That's out there. But the concept of a dragon living on an asteroid is just very cool to me. Like this is obviously the most standout point of this dragon. Mm-hmm. Everything else, she's a standard red dragon. I mean, she has these children, which is interesting as well. And so you're going to have dynamics of the children infighting. There's one child who obviously is way on the outs and wants to rule the roost. So you're going to have that sort of dynamic. But as far as Ashtyrranthor is concerned, she is the mother. She is the big force to be reckoned with on this asteroid. So there isn't a ton of information on the backstory, how she got there, why she's there.
Oh, well, that's Mad Mage for you.
Right, yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
This
deal
interacts with the world.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little niche carved out, but that's
Exactly. So I'm a little disappointed because 1, you're not going to get a backstory. 2, you're not really going to find out what... Because the most interesting part about this is the dynamic of having 7 red dragons, a mother and her 6 children stuck on an asteroid.
You've always wanted to do a dragon hunting campaign.
Yeah.
There you go. Go baby killing red dragons. That's
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, the dynamic about that, I'd like to see more of that fleshed out. But the nature of Mad Mage is you come in, you get your job done, you're out, you're on to the next level, right?
Yeah.
If you survive. And yeah, so mechanically speaking, the only thing that she has that a standard adult red dragon doesn't have is she does get innate spell casting. Mm-hmm. And the spell choice here is really interesting. Alarm, as a dragon, why wouldn't you want Alarm?
well, for her children, like the
exactly.
hatchery, right?
Yeah, and your horde as well, right? Combination of the two. Any dragon would want to have it, but especially her hatchery she'd want to protect.
She's got 6 children, but I wouldn't say that.
She gets detect. She gets detect magic.
Yeah.
Gaseous form. Mm-hmm. Imagine a dragon being able to take a gaseous form.
She's not the only one. That Niv-Mizzet had that as well.
Yeah, they'll get a few, I think. Misty Step.
Yep.
And Pass Wall.
This is because she's indoors,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
They need to make her scarier that she could just fly through a fucking wall.
Yeah. Yeah, but very cool spell selection as far as that's concerned. Again, charisma being the stat. So the ability to kind of manipulate, move around the battlefield, control the battlefield, I think that's a really interesting... And I think more dragons should be doing that, especially as they get older. They're going to understand the importance of it.
Mm-hmm. God help the party that goes up against all the dragons at once.
Someone will try it.
Even if they're wormlings, that is a lot of breath weapons.
Yes.
2 of them are activating every round.
Absolutely. Yeah, to try and take on all 7.
And you're going to be, I mean, you're 16th level of the Mad Mage, so you're probably between level 14 and 17,
about
depending
that,
on your... I don't know, I haven't read it, but I know how long the adventure is.
It was recommending about 14.
No, there you go. That's a tough fight.
Yes, big fight. You're not really designed to fight. I mean, like most dragon encounters in modules, there's always a way to not fight. Have you met players? Of course.
Have you met players? That's what I was going to
Yes.
say, right? So they will fight the red dragon.
That said, as a player, whenever I say dragon, my first thought is always, how can I do this without combat? Because
Really?
yes,
I've never tried that.
Sell the bard.
yeah. I'm always happy with a sell the bard tactic.
You've heard of sell swords?
Sell bards.
It's kind of sell sword.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So mine is also from the Dungeon of the Mad Mage as well. Voltagar Steelshadow is a cowardly Duragar archmage from Waterdeep. I bet you were not expecting me to say that.
No.
He has a pet golem and a faltering grip on a Duragar iron mine deep in Undermountain. It's not out of the question that he might strike a deal with the adventuring party for safe passage through his realm, but no one gives a shit. This is a dragon episode. Mm-hmm. What people do give a shit about is his bitch of a wife, Stalagma Steelshadow, who is a motherfucking adult, wait for it, steel dragon.
A canonized steel dragon.
Wow.
Yes.
So is she technically metallic then?
It does not get into it, but I would hazard to say yes.
Yeah.
So This is the only reference to steel dragons anywhere in 5th edition that I could find. They're not even listed in the upcoming Fizban's release, as far as I've been able to find. And I've got my inside sources, and I haven't seen anything but steel dragons. Stalagma is masquerading as a Duergar that rides a Gorgon, which is one of those metal bulls that breathe paralyzing breath that all of my players fucking hate because I use them too often.
I was just thinking. I remembered fighting one of those. Yeah. I fucking hated it.
Voltagar is the only one who knows her true identity, and everyone else fears her intensely.
And they don't even know the half of it.
No, they don't. She commands 3 Zorn. She oversees all of the miners, and she has a bunch of the Duergar racial traits while she's in Duergar form, including Duergar resilience and the ability to enlarge or become invisible. If her Gorgon is killed or she is reduced to half of her maximum hit points, she changes into the Steel Dragon form, which uses the Silver Dragon stat block with 3 major changes. 1 is, she's lawful evil. 2 is, she speaks Draconic, Dwarvish, and Terran, but not common. And 3 is, her breath weapon is a 60-foot line of acid.
Love it.
Cool.
I don't think I need to tell you what my favorite piece of inspiration for her is. It's not the Steel Dragon thing. No. It's clearly the fact that a dragon married a humanoid.
Yep.
I was about to do that in one of my campaigns with Jamie, but then the dragon was slaughtered mercilessly before Jamie's eyes. But it was really cool to have a dragon not just seduced by a horny bard, but actually choosing to live as a spouse of a humanoid who's fairly mundane in the grand scheme of things. This dude just runs an iron mine, and she's saddled
And he
up
knows
with him.
that she's a dragon?
Yeah.
I couldn't do it, man. There's a few reasons.
You know who straps on what.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
But I just couldn't. It'd just be so emasculated to be like, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna kill that job interview. She's like, go on, good luck, you're so strong, you're so good, you go get him, Tiger. And then she's like,
I'm the opposite. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Can I play golf all day?
Not even touching that. Not even going down that fucking road. There are 2 kinds of dungeon masters. No, the interesting thing about Stalagma Steelshadow that I really like is the fact that she has masqueraded as a Duergar for so long that she's able to actually manipulate her own form when she's polymorphed to be able to actually have Duergar traits as well. And it's inherent racial traits. It's not spellcasting.
Yes.
Which is insane to me that she can do this. I don't know if this is a thing that all steel dragons can do, but why the shit not? Maybe not just Duergar, but dwarves.
Is this just more man-made stuff?
No, steel dragons were a thing in previous editions. So this obviously got ported up and then never supported, right? So this is one of these. There's lots of it. We're starting to see 5th edition cherry picking bits and pieces of what they like from other previous editions, as well as other campaign settings. And then bringing them in and saying, oh, it's in the Forgotten Realms, don't think about it. Look at this wacky, crazy thing. And most players are so new that they don't realize that, wait a minute, this isn't technically by the strict lore you've given us.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a evil metallic.
That was kind of my thought, too, when I saw lawful evil on top of metallic, because that's why I initially asked that question.
Yeah, but she seems to be in control. As much as the husband is in control of the mind and runs everything, he's also just like, if the party shows up, it's like, hey, we're going to fight you. He's like, nope. And he teleports out onto the back of the Gorgon behind her.
Yeah.
And lets her do the fighting as he's blasting off spells.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he is... I can't. I love this, but it is so strange.
Yeah.
As well. This really inspires me to think outside the box and do whatever the fudge I want, and to look to previous editions to grab interesting.
If Wizards is going to do it in official material, why the hell can't you?
Well, look, we already have permission to do whatever we want as DMs, but people don't think big enough sometimes. They just say, oh, I'm going to do a copper dragon with an attitude problem. Oh, no, make a steel dragon. It's lawful evil.
I like it.
Sure. Okay, my next dragon is Aurinax, an adult gold dragon that you can find in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And what I love about Aurinax is Aurinax was actually tasked by Dagult Neverember to guard gold stored in the Vault of Dragons, and that was done in exchange for the dragon staff of Argeiron. As
You've said a lot of nonsense words.
Yes,
I did.
Yeah, well,
No, you were correct.
Am I saying
It's
the
just-
nonsense where
It's
it's
not your
like,
fault.
you are.
This
There's-
is not your fault.
there's
Because
a
they'll
lot
come
of-
at me, these fuckers. You know, they're in my DMs so fast, as though I give a I DM back going, you can't even comprehend the size of the fuck I don't give.
No, I feel like I just got a wall of information, like from the Harry Potter nerds about when you go into Gringotts, down on the 3rd level. No, I don't. Not only do I not know,
It's not
I
Gringotts.
also do not care.
Yeah.
Right.
Behold the field in which I grow my fun.
Here's what I was building to, which is what is interesting.
Yeah.
Is now I forget. Aurinax. This gold is ill-gotten, and Aurinax, who is an adult gold dragon, knows this and is still willing to guard it for payment, which comes in the form of magical item and gems. And you were talking earlier, Brad, about a dragon. I forget the details now. We've talked about so many, where there was kind of a moral sort of gray area there. And that got me thinking here that this, for a gold dragon to do this, it reminds me that even every value or virtue still has a hierarchy. So what's more important, that you're good or that you crave hordes, as dragons do?
Or this could just be the fact that it's lawful. I am guarding the bank.
Yes.
Right?
And you don't know. This could be ill-gotten gold, but what other gold and treasures in this vault? What used to be in the vault that they were guarding, and they've just stayed on over time? Like, you don't know what they signed up for and have just, should have retired a couple hundred years ago, but here we are with that. Like, you don't know, but you're right. Lawful good does not mean capital G good every single time.
Yeah, that's right. So as far as regional effects and lair actions, there is none here. There isn't even any innate spellcasting or anything that comes with this dragon from the research that I did. But the dragon staff that I talked about is quite an interesting item. One of the benefits of that item that I liked is that staff has 10 charges of the command spell, and when you use that against a dragon, the dragon has disadvantage on those saving throws, and that staff regains 1d10 charges daily at dawn.
Maybe that's why he took the job, because they used the damn thing on him, and now he wants it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or maybe it's more important to him that because he actually has that staff as well as payment. Maybe it's one of those items where he recognizes that it's more important that he keeps hold of that and keeps it safe.
You got to keep it out of the wrong hands.
Yeah, people will say that you were guarding ill-gotten gold and stuff, but that wasn't the primary reason that happened.
Yeah. The source of the gold doesn't really matter to you. It's more important that this staff...
Right. And and that's what I would say if somebody accused me of, whatever.
I wouldn't call you a gold dragon, though.
All right, let's grab our dice and roll another round. We're about halfway through it.
4.
13.
All right, Brad, you're first again.
All right, I'm going first again. So, this is... hold on. Umbraxakar. Umbraxakar. There it is.
Well. You're doing well.
Umbraxakar. Also known as Glyster. Well, previously known. The dragon formerly known as Glyster. Or Glyster.
And that was just a symbol.
That's right. So Umbraxakar is a shadow dragon found in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We got another Dungeon of the Mad Mage dragon here.
The Storm King's Thunder and Mad Mage, right? That's where you're going to find them.
Yeah.
So Umbraxakar actually means Shadowborn in Draconic. Because again, we're dealing with a shadow dragon here.
Which kind?
So Shadow Dragon on top of a Bronze Dragon.
Okay.
So was previously an adult Bronze Dragon known as Glyster, who is friends with a nobleman swashbuckler named Vanrak Moonstar.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So Vanrak actually began worshipping Shar, the Mistress of the Night. Right, Goddess of Darkness. And she was able to
You now have Terry's attention for the first time in this episode.
I'm sure.
The Goddess of the Night.
Yeah, hello.
So, anyways, so
Ladies.
this next one's going to get you. She seduced Vanrak to do her bidding, turning him into a Death Knight.
Cool.
All right.
Was it the small death?
Yes,
Team more?
just a tiny little one.
Okay.
So anyway, Glyster, being so allegiant to Vanrak, was so dismayed by him turning. Right, he'd put so much effort as a bronze dragon to try and keep him from turning into this Death Knight. When it eventually came, he was just so beaten down and dismayed that he allowed himself to fall into this shadow form. So that was ultimately his downfall, was the inability to keep his friend from falling into the darkness.
So depression did it to him?
Basically, yeah.
Huh.
He was so depressed that he just he didn't care anymore, right? So he's like, sure, do whatever. And also loyalty was a big part of it too, right? This Vanrak was such a big part of his life. The two of them had a bond. And so when
the Death Knight's strong, powerful magic...
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, all right.
He was already weakened by his own downstate depression that he was able to... It was very easy for him to turn.
That's very fantasy, too. I was so upset. I
turned to darkness.
Literally died and came back, as in the girl that walks between the shadows. Like, that's so fucking fantasy.
Oh, very much so. So now, Umbraxakar serves as the mount and companion to Vanrak the Death Knight. So Vanrak is kind of the Lord of the Realm in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. He's kind of the Lord of this level. And he rides on the back of this shadow bronze dragon.
That's fun.
Very cool.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. As you explore, this is where it gets really interesting. As you explore the region of Vanrak Doom, because of course the man,
sure, yeah,
the Death Knight names it after himself.
Yeah.
Not only his own name, but then Doom.
Yeah.
Like, does it get much more Death Knight than that? As you spend more time in the realm, you're going to start to see visions. That is the history of Glyster, right? When he was back in the bronze, as he kind of went through this depression, as he went through the loss, you're going to start to see shadowy visions in your mind as you spend more time in this realm of basically depression and all the terrible things that he went through.
Misery loves company.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And eventually you can basically start to actually see manifestations of him. You can walk through them. They can only be dispelled by magic.
That's going to be terrifying, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So basically what I pulled from that is, I think, the most interesting... I mean, yes, it's a trope falling to wisdom, but I think the fact that even a good bronze dragon... We talked about this earlier with the silver being brought into the shadow, right? But in his case, it was due to such a strong bond with another creature.
Bronze are one of the few dragons that don't really have a strong emotional hook to them. Mm-hmm. They're about duty and conquest and victory and glory, and
yes, and
then to be brought low, it would have to be something like loyalty and
duty.
Betrayal.
Yeah, right. It's that duty that he has. So that's kind of the main lore point that I pulled out. Like, your dragons are going to form bonds with other creatures, even though we think of them as long-lived, kind of like elves do, right? They don't form relationships with the lesser creatures. But
which is bullshit, man. I've got relationships with all three of my geckos.
Yeah.
I fucking hate them all, and they need... You know how long they live, goddamn. No, I'm kidding.
But seriously, to take that from a dragon and put that in, I really enjoy that kind of concept of being able to be brought low because of your bonds and your friendship. Mm-hmm. Mechanically, again, he's an adult bronze dragon with the Shadow Dragon template on top. He also receives an extra breath weapon called Repulsion Breath, which is a 30-foot cone.
Yeah, but that's the bronze dragon.
Bronze.
So it's just standard.
So it's standard. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
That's it.
Speaking of bronze, mine this round is a dragon turtle.
Ooh.
Named Bronzefume. Now, she's from Princes of the Apocalypse, which was a very early adventure as well, and not entirely fleshed out very well. I've got a lot of problems with it. But I really like Bronzefume. So, she is the strongest member of the Crushing Wave cult, which worships water elementals, obviously. I did a total major disservice to the plot, but there you go. Before I go any further, I want to remind everyone, I said it before, dragon turtles are intelligent, and they can speak. Not common necessarily, but they do speak a couple of languages. We cover them in depth in our dragon turtle episode, but let's get back to Bronzefume. She's young, she's impressionable, and actually only has about 2/3 of the hit points of a regular dragon turtle. So they've really reduced her ability here. She's only like a CR 5, I think, off the top of my head.
Oh, that's cool.
I can't remember. Yeah, they really bring her down. So she's a little uncertain of her own aggressiveness and needs to be summoned by either the Water Prophet or the sign of her allies being in open combat. She prefers to attack boats instead of the people on the boats, focusing on sinking ships and not combating the humanoids aboard them.
I think that's a better tactic anyways.
She doesn't want the direct confrontation. It's safer for her to just put a hole in the keel.
Yeah, I mean, they'll die a more awful death.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sure.
Yep. If you approach her, she'll surface to investigate, but will otherwise remain hidden on the other side of Staria Lake. There's also a neat little way to summon her presence with a gong. That's canon. You'll bow, and then she'll show up shortly thereafter. But her seduction into the Crushing Wave cult was essentially due to a promise of riches, and she doesn't particularly care. These are just her friends that give her stuff. And she's young and impressionable, like I said. So the peer pressure and the promise of popularity and shiny things are what's motivating her. Bronzefume is another good example of a name describing the physical traits of the NPC in question, as well as an ability. She's clearly bronze in color, and she relies on her breath weapon to attack, or her fume, which is, the water vapor, right? The steam that they have.
How are most things
weapon.
named, right?
Exactly. So the other thing that makes Bronzefume memorable to me is the fact that she's unsure. She investigates before attacking. She's lured with the promise of fortune, and she only defends her friends. She's clearly not evil, despite being allied with an evil cult. Again, this hits me with the fact that dragons aren't necessarily all-knowing, even if they are powerful. Remember that dragons in this game are often NPCs first and monsters second, whether they are of the chromatic, metallic, shadow, undead, gemstone, or turtle varieties.
Okay, my next dragon is also a bronze dragon.
Hey.
An adult bronze dragon, bronze for all three here, named Felgolos. And you can find Felgolos in Storm King's Thunder. Felgolos is not the typical bronze dragon that I would usually imagine. When we talked about bronze dragons before, Adam, we kind of discussed like battle masters, military type folk. He's more sticking his nose into everything. Everywhere he finds a problem, he kind of goes diving in there and tries to fix it, like a dog that's found a porcupine type thing. And so Felgolos is known as a very imprudent adult bronze dragon that travels across Faerun, causing trouble, surviving perils, and kind of probably just sticking his oar in where he shouldn't. Like, I'm sure the townsfolk will be grateful that Felgolos has showed up, but I don't imagine that he's particularly graceful in how he executes these situations.
Probably not well liked either, right? He's utilitarian. He's a tool.
Everyone's happy to see the Hulk, but there's shit in the wind.
Then afterwards, it's like, what the fuck? You know, it's like on
this was an Avenger? Who did this?
Yeah, I think is it Hancock where he's like, you could have just picked the car up.
Yeah,
It's going to be like that, absolutely. But Felgolos does have two bronze dragon parents that left the realm to go and travel the plains, the lore said. I just kind of imagine the parents that are like, just stay home all summer, don't get yourself into trouble, we're going to Florida. It's kind of like, and then they just sort of never came back.
And we get like a montage of Felgolos sitting there with the mirror putting the aftershave on and screaming.
100%. Because it did say as well that he is an adult dragon technically, but he is a younger adult dragon.
Okay.
So Felgolos is essentially me. I'm 33 years old. I still feel like I haven't figured it out yet. Everyone else has got kids and I don't know where my car keys are. It's like that.
I did think you were going to say car keys. Keep going.
I don't know where anything is. I don't know whose panties these are. I've got no idea. But they weren't the girl that came to the door. So, Felgolos, actually, due to magical enhancements placed upon him by his former mentor, Felgolos is immune to magical effects from the schools of alteration, enchantment, and necromancy, which I found particularly interesting. He doesn't have a lair anywhere right now because he essentially just continues to
Still
travel
lives at his
around.
parents' house.
Yeah, when he goes back.
He
Lives in the
he goes
basement.
back home to his
He's
parents. once in a while.
backpacking across Europe right now. is what he's doing.
Felgolos's lair is directly beneath his parents' lair in the
that's right.
basement, but he has to go through theirs to get. I'm just bringing someone in. And that's Felgolos. I take inspiration from this in that it reminds me to rethink the other dragon types, and you can still be true to their character and personality. This is still a very military style dragon, but this is like young idiot officer making mistakes, not aged commander.
It's funny. Everybody looks at the wormling and says, "Okay, baby," and the ancient and says, "Super genius, super tough."
Yeah.
But it's hard to get that evolution through the
Somewhere
middle
in
two
between.
steps.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in previous we went over this in the last Dragon episode. In the previous editions, there were like 15 or 19 different ages for dragons, and each one had a different
Glad they
stat block.
simplified that.
They really pared it down, which is great for 5th edition, is bad for lore nerds like me. But I'm glad that we get to see, by digging into these dragons, we can see that there is a general evolution to personality as well.
I love it. I just love it that it reminds you that not every dragon needs to be this slow, deep talking, super wise thing, good or bad. That they can probably come in, didn't quite stick the landing. He was coming in a little bit
that's
hot.
right.
They fucked up the marketplace. Don't worry, I've
Knock
arrived.
some carts over. Took a kid out.
Hey everyone, it's Dan.
And Adam.
And we want to remind everybody all about the different ways you can listen to this podcast.
As we say in every episode, we're available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but there are other apps too. Podbean is obviously one of them because it's the site we use to host the podcast, but there's also Amazon Music /Audible and Google Podcasts.
And iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Player FM, and Stitcher.
Podcast Addict and Deezer and Overcast.
Pocket Cast, Castbox, Listen Notes.
Podbay, Chartable, Castro.
Castro?
Yep.
As in
Castro, for all your high fidelity needs.
Is that an actual thing?
Apparently, and it's part of the package we signed up for, and it seems that it's an Apple Podcasts affiliate, so we're going to be nice about it, Dan.
Good lord.
Anyway, you can listen to every episode on any one of these probably non-communist podcasts.
Please don't phrase it like that.
Yes, comrade.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Or you and your glorious party of D&D players can check us out on YouTube, where we have everything broken down into playlists.
We've also started adding time codes to the show notes of our newest episodes to help you hop around and find the topics you're looking for, because some of us don't know when to shut up. And of course, our latest episodes are available at itsamimic.com.
Da.
Now, we're going to be a little selfish and ask everyone out there to take a second and leave a positive review for us on whichever podcast app you're using. Likes and comments are great, but these review metrics really help smaller podcasts like us connect with other podcasts and listeners in the community.
Take to the fields, comrades. Support the proletariat in a world full of capitalist pig dogs.
Seriously, any help and or effort you guys could throw our way is appreciated. We love you guys, and we want to keep providing the best content we can.
Content of the highest marks. Get it, Dan? Marks. Get it? Communism. Marks. All right, let's roll again for the next round.
1.
4.
It's not going
14.
well.
Oh, God, we're just hitting the same order over and over again. Okay.
I'm actually going to take this opportunity, though, to defer and let you go first, Adam, because I think it's more important that you're dragon for this round, and then I will cover mine, because mine's kind of the lesser to your...
Sure, okay.
Adam gets that a lot.
Story of my life, Brett. So it's just the bit characters.
That's right. I'm just kind of I'm the afterthought.
Yeah,
this would be fun to add.
So much like you were talking about how your character, your dragon evolved, mine evolves too, but it's because it was in 2 different adventures.
Okay.
And I think this is the only one that is.
Mine as well.
Well, they were connected.
They're together.
Right? But I think this is the only instance of it. I may be wrong because of Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat. But I'm not entirely certain off the top of my head. In my head, Tyranny of Dragons is one adventure anyway. So, anyway, let me get into Cryovain, who first appeared in Storm King's Thunder. He is an adult white dragon and mate of Isendraug, who is Brad's.
Well, I'll cover next.
Yeah, and when we first meet him, he's chained to the deck of a frost giant ship as a prisoner. If the ship is under attack, the frost giants will release Cryovain to fight beside them, using his imprisoned mate and eggs as leverage. But if his mate and eggs are freed, he is going to turn on the giants immediately. He's cruel and mean and destructive, showing no allegiance even to those who free him. Humanoids are beneath him, and the giants are his enemies. In Dragon of Icespire Peak, the adventure that's in the Essentials kit, we meet him again, but this time, he's the big bad evil guy of the adventure. Also, this is a prequel to Storm King's Thunder, because now he's a young dragon in this. In this adventure, he's claimed the Sword Mountains as his home and is creating incredible upheaval in the region since displacing an orc tribe from the fortress of Icespire Peak. We learn that this is the point that he's kind of stupid. He's still mean as shit and cowardly, and these traits don't really go away in Storm King's Thunder, although he's bigger and more vengeful there. We get some interesting details about how he operates, including how he surveys the land from above before attacking, how he roams the region on a whim, and how he's always available to be a random encounter, even if he's quick to disengage outside of his lair. As for his lair itself, he lives primarily on the roof of a frozen fortress, but he's not quick-witted enough to know that there are bandits hiding in his lair looking for his hoard. Sidebar, there is no hoard.
Yeah.
He's young, he's hungry, and he's new to the area. He's actually frozen an ogre in the past, and you can come across the ogre's corpse in a block of ice with some loot. But the ogre was too big for him to carry, so he just abandoned the corpse there. For the most part, Cryovain is difficult to engage with. He primarily hits and runs when he's out in the open. He sleeps on the top of a fortress, and he flies up, circling and looking for intruders from above the fortress if he's awakened. And, for the most part, the fortress is too small for him to enter. His lair in Storm King's Thunder doesn't have that problem. He's learned by that point. Interestingly, because he's a little cowardly and fairly young, defeating him doesn't necessarily mean killing him. Despite the fact that Dragon of Icespire Peak mentions that you can kill him, his final battle is set up to be on the rooftop of the fortress, and there's a lot of opportunity to retreat, and it even mentions that as well. Especially considering he's fighting a level 6 party.
Yeah.
When it comes to what inspired me the most about Cryovain, I picked out 3 details. 1, even dumb dragons are smart enough to retreat if there's enough of an obstacle.
Yeah.
2, dragons are so specific to their environments that it makes sense that they would bask in it. A white dragon sleeping on a frozen mountaintop makes sense. The same way that a blue dragon basking in the desert heat or a red dragon chilling out by a lava pit also just makes sense to me. The only reason they would ever have interior lairs is for defense of their hordes, their eggs, and themselves. So I think their natural environment is in the open air. Their lairs are defensive.
The ability to fly is your first sign that, they want to be out.
So the thing that I learned here is that lairs should be defensive-minded first. We've talked in the past about having displays and trophies and hordes and everything else, but there's got to be some defenses built to the dragon's personality and tactics built into this lair first, right?
Yep.
And the third thing I learned is that dragons, even the dumb evil ones, are hyper-protective of their eggs.
Yes.
Right? So that's actually, here, Brad,
So let's go into this. So I have Isendraug, who is the wife of Cryovain. What a name. Cryovain's a much better name than Isendraug. But
I think
anyways.
Isendraug is more Norse.
Yes.
Cryovain is not.
Yeah, Cryovain I like Cryovain. All right, anyways. She's also an adult white dragon, again, found in Storm King's Thunder. And as Adam mentioned, you're not Dan, you're Adam.
Yeah, I know, the beard is...
I just did an episode Dan long a couple days ago. So anyways, her partner Cryovain has been taken by the giants. So again, it depends on what order you stumble across her. She might be imprisoned, he might be imprisoned, they might both be imprisoned. Either way, the eggs are definitely gone. So basically, she is going to try and kill you on sight. Unless you try to parlay with her, then she's willing to talk. And basically what she wants is she wants you to retrieve her dragons and free her mate.
Makes sense.
And
Sure.
if you do that, she'll let you go. Which, of course, her plan is as soon as you do that, she will then kill you when you return.
What?
White dragon? Yeah.
White dragon, that's
right.
what you're up against, right?
Yeah, of course. Really, I didn't find her that compelling. Like Adam mentioned, the defense of the eggs is probably the biggest takeaway here.
And this is the first time that we see mates.
Mates, yes.
Right, as actual, but both of them are NPCs. You always hear about,
Yeah.
and they had a mate
They
way
had
back
a
when.
mate,
But
yes.
this is one of the only times you see that.
Yeah, I'll have one more later where you'll meet both. But
Do either of you know, because you have one each, do they like each other? Is it a happy mating situation? There's a resentment?
it's at least beneficial. I don't know.
Practical.
Nothing that I read was really clear on the nature of the relationship. They seem
does love really come into it for a white dragon?
Is it? I don't know. That's love. I don't know. It's probably more of a practical
Preference.
agreement and
It could just be like they feel that they Zoidberg it, right?
Yeah.
Where they like once per season, I've got to go just like fertilize some eggs and then fuck off. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't hear a whole lot about the fathers of dragons.
No.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it's not a Black Widow situation where the male gets eaten after, but it's. Should the opportunity arise, it might. But anyway, she wasn't that inspiring to me. She doesn't have a stat block.
It's interesting that she has a different motivation beyond hunting, killing, hordes.
For a white, it's interesting to see
They're
more
very
than
much on the
just-
defensive, which
Yes.
is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, the second that she has an opportunity, even if you do what she wants you to do, she's still going to kill you afterwards.
Yeah.
Like it's to her own benefit. Standard adult white stat block, but worse in the sense she doesn't have a lair because it's not her lair. It's
Cryovain's.
It's Cryovain's lair. So she doesn't get lair actions and she doesn't get any regional effects.
But he won't get layer actions either because he's either a young dragon in the first one.
Yeah,
Or
or imprisoned away from his
Exactly.
lair
Right.
in Storm King. So
That's cool. I like the dynamic
Yeah.
of the mating pair for sure. Well, my next dragon, I believe, was made for me. Adam, I don't know if you chose this one specifically.
100%, yes.
100%. I have the Black Shadow Dragon, Nurvureem, also known as the Dark Lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry, you're welcome.
So Nurvureem, also known as the Dark Lady, is known for maintaining several lairs, though she favors the ruined manor house of Rundrith Manor. You can find Nurvureem in Storm King's Thunder, and she's important in that campaign, spoiler alert, because she does provide key information in that module. In fact, sorry, I just said Storm King's Thunder. I meant to say Princess of the Apocalypse. You can find Nurvureem in. So Nurvureem has a predilection for young, handsome male humans whom she entices using her illusions to appear as a beautiful woman, and then essentially gets them to do her bidding. She gets their loyalty. I don't imagine it to be the point of like Joel Schumacher's Poison Ivy type stupid.
But she definitely uses her pinky finger in
But
creative
it's
ways.
definitely that type of thing. And then she'll go off, she'll use them to spy on agents, to collect magic items, to bring people back. Essentially kind of uses them as her, what does she call them? Her faithful
We don't have
few.
enough like seduction males in this game. You know, it's all females seducing men.
My thought as
Right.
well was essentially you get an insight into the writers because it's not just men, it's human males that they always seem to seduce.
Sure.
you know,
I
Right.
think that's because we know what to do with that.
Yeah.
How do you seduce an elf? What do you say?
Or a
Like,
dwarf or
Yeah.
pinky and a ring finger for a dwarf.
Sure.
I'll tell you that right now.
I was
Sure.
gonna say thumb, but
And I
alright.
think I don't think we're at a point in like basically where we are in the world right now. It probably wouldn't be a good idea for wizards to be pressing a seductive male. Just go, look how handsome I am, and everybody's falling in love with me. I don't think that would, from a
Yeah.
marketability point of view,
you
I
know
don't think that would
what?
work.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
Yeah. Even this, I think,
Is-
right now is you're gonna be
you
getting
get a little bit
daggers
of
for this.
backlash.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with regards to so that's her kind of her MO, how she operates. With regards to lair actions and regional effects, there is none because she moves around so much. But what I would say is that I wouldn't have these men as being like stupidly tripping over themselves, falling in love. I'd have more of like an unexplained kind of intense loyalty, where even the people like in the village, like if you say a bad word against her, it's just like they're just chopping away. Then it's the heavy chop and the stop, and it's like we don't talk about her like that. And then okay, kind of like in that sense. But I think as far as role playing goes, there's a lot of opportunities here.
I think
absolutely.
every man of puberty age and above in the village has got a secret crush on her.
Yeah.
But some of them are super open about it.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, like
All the married men are like, oh, but she, objectively, I guess she's attractive.
I don't know if you guys have you seen the interview with Stephen Colbert where Nicki Minaj asks him if he's married? And it takes him a good 15 seconds to say yes.
Yes.
It's kind of like he has to look at his ring and go, yes,
I am.
Yeah. It's going to be like
I
that,
forgot
sure.
for a second. Yes, in fact. Excellent. Anything else?
No, that's her.
Roll dice again.
Let's roll.
18.
Oh,
All right, Terry, you're going again.
Okay, so my next one is not actually a true dragon, but is actually a dragon sculpture. It's a stone dragon statue that you can find in the Tales of the Orning Portal. And it's kind of like it's a puzzle. It's a riddle where if a creature moves within 5 feet of the dragon statue, a magic mouth spell causes the dragon to utter a riddle to the PCs. And if you solve the riddle, I won't give the riddle away, so I don't make too much of a spoiler. It will essentially open a sliding area within the lair, and then you can kind of go in and find some items and some treasures. So there's not too much to say with this, other than it reminded me that dragons are truly impressive in the world, whether you love them or you hate them. And there would be these sculptures and statues of various types of dragons around that would show loyalty. And I think as DMs we need to lean into that, into the imagery of dragons would be everywhere, and perhaps would be used for this kind of thing more often. I think we get distracted with the physical dragon itself and forget about the imagery and what the image of that dragon will mean across the land.
You got to keep in mind, too, as well, that these dragon sculptures that you're going to see, there's a reason they chose a dragon. You're not getting a beholder sculpture or a mind flayer sculpture or a bugbear sculpture. It's going to be dragons. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be dragons or famous heroes. Dragons themselves are those mythic level creatures.
Why would you not use a dragon as the key for the puzzle that unlocks treasure?
Yeah, like it makes perfect sense.
Right, you got a room with treasure in it. Of course, there's gonna be a dragon that protects it.
Yeah, and a riddle, of course, requires a certain amount of intelligence. Dragons, of course, being intelligent. It all lines up nicely for that. And you're right, Terry. I just don't think that people are glomming onto that the way that they should.
Yeah.
Who is next?
I'm going next, and I've got Arveiaturace.
Good. I'm so sorry.
Thanks for that one.
again. Is that...
Arveiaturace.
I knew you couldn't say it twice. I knew you couldn't say it twice. That's why.
Arveiaturace. I got it now. So she is an ancient white dragon, and the second, I mentioned it earlier, I got mistaken. This is the other one that appears in 2 books. So she appears originally in Horde of the Dragon Queen, but then she makes another appearance in Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Again, in both of them, kind of this minor side quest. You may run into her, you may not. But she is known as the White Worm. She once served a wizard whose name was Melthorond, and his corpse actually still remains strapped to a saddle on her back.
Oh, that's her. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she is unable to accept the fact that this wizard that she served for so long is dead. So she still speaks to him as if he's alive, and in her mind, he is still alive.
Oh, this is some this is Norman Bates level shit.
Yeah, like this is obviously just some sort of like comedic side piece that they threw in. They said, "Oh, this will be fun. We'll have a dragon with a wizard."
Oh, but I'd play that really creepy too.
Oh, you could.
100%.
You absolutely could. But the way it was written and the way that I read it, I felt very just comedic.
Look, Rime of the Frost Maiden is a dark book.
Is.
Oh, is it?
It is heavy and depressive, and there's like cosmic horror aspects, and you are just out in the blizzard, freezing to death all the time, and it can be very dark. It's Deep Darker Radiance in D&D, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised that they've got a couple of little like lighter moments just to break it up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically she still speaks to this corpse as if it was alive. She considers it to be her partner. In fact, it says specifically in the Rime of the Frost Maiden book that if the party deals with her, they should be under level to deal with an ancient dragon, obviously. So basically what they can do is if they find any way to kind of jostle her around to the point where the rider falls off her back, she will stop to make sure that the corpse is okay. She may even ask the party to put him back on for her. Or if there's any kobolds on, she'll get them to put it back on for her.
Like, you're in the middle of initiative, the bard has gone down, the rogue has got 3 hit points left, but the guy falls off. She's like, time out! Everybody stop! Hold on.
But that's
Nobody look!
But that's exactly what will happen. Like, that is not, like, it says specifically in her rules. Yeah, she actually does. She does.
God,
she
does
the voice? Sorry, no, she does not do the voice, but she specifically asks questions of him. Like, oh, we know what to do with it. It's almost Gollum-esque with the ring.
Right.
Like the way that she speaks
I like
to it.
the Norman Bates.
But yeah, Norman absolutely is another great way to pull it across. So yeah, basically, find a way to basically knock this thing off her back and you're going to be safe and out of combat.
It's like when you're playing the video game, the guy in the back is sparkling for some reason. You know what to aim at.
Exactly. Also, canonically, and based on the information given to us in Rime of the Frost Maiden, she has vision of only 60 feet. She is... Because of her age, she is quite ancient.
Oh, wow.
So she is an ancient dragon. So if you can get out of 60 feet of her, she won't be able to see you.
I like the idea of still that evolution that we're learning, that you can get so old as a dragon that you can get too old.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. So yeah, really. But again, I wasn't super inspired by it. There's no specific stat block for her. But I will toss it now to Adam because she is actually married to the dragon is the partner to the dragon that Adam's going to speak about.
Which is Arauthator, who's from Rise of Tiamat as well. So Arauthator is an ancient white dragon who also goes by the name Old White Death. He is an ally of the Cult of the Dragon in the adventure Rise of Tiamat, and the players encounter him while trying to rescue an NPC with important information. Arauthator is famous for being involved in a great attack 100 years ago, where he and a dozen other dragons raided a magical tower, and he was seen carrying away a ton of magical and powerful items, including spellbooks. These days, you can expect him to be an accomplished spellcaster, which is bad. But also, he has a decent hoard to plunder, which is good. He has a number of servants throughout the adventure, but also many enemies. Some of them tell tales of Old White Death's brutal slaying, but those who are better informed know that Arauthator, I'm going to say this differently every time, it is Arauthator.
All right.
Is still very much alive. He is a typical white dragon, both savage and brutal, and has a number of layers littered around the sea of moving ice. His main lair, however, is inside a distant mountain called Lone Fang Mountain and is warded against scrying magic. Eventually, in the adventure, the party's going to head to one of the iceberg lairs, where they can expect to go up against ice trolls, ice toads, and of course kobolds. And on the way to fight him, they're going to encounter him flying around quite a bit as well. He actually lured an NPC that they're trying to get in by offering certain powers and whatnot, including you can ride my wife if you'd like.
Yes.
But of course, this was just a total bluff. Got the NPC there, just like, no, fuck you, you're imprisoned for 3 years, and now the party's got to come rescue the guy. So
basically, he said you can basically replace the wizard that's riding on my wife's back, because we'll give her a real
like
wizard or someone who actually has power and is alive.
Sounds like a dragon cuckold situation.
That's the way Adam likes to phrase
not
it.
that kind of ride. So it's cool because he enters and exits through special underwater tunnels, but is willing and able to attack approaching ships from the air. His lair is appropriately trapped with magical traps, and the adventurer makes a point to mention that if the party wants to fight him directly, they need to seek help and magic items from an NPC first. They cannot do it on their own. Rise of Tiamat also discusses the condition of winning, where the players may be able to kill him, but it's just as likely that he'll be driven off to a different lair to lick his wounds. What's most inspiring about this particular dragon is that there are quite a few details about what happens afterwards. His minions all act differently, whether he's killed or driven away, and the political powers in the region all react in different ways depending on the outcome. There's actually a really cool chart in Rise of Tiamat, which says when you accomplish different things in different parts of the book, all of the different factions, like the Harpers and everything else, will react to you differently and have a different opinion.
That's good. That's smart.
Yeah.
This gets me thinking about the fallout of what happens after a cult falls or a powerhouse in a region is killed. How do NPCs and monsters react to the sudden absence of power? Most of the rest of his details are pretty straightforward for White Dragons, which is understandable considering that this adventure was published early in 5th edition. Also, I'm starting to get a little sick of White Dragons. We've talked a lot about White
White
Dragons.
and bronze.
Interestingly, I was noting both of the ones that we have that were mating pairs, shall we say,
Yeah,
were
were
white
white.
dragons, which is not necessarily the one that you necessarily associate with,
That's right.
having a partner, right? They seem like kind of lone hunters.
Yeah.
But again, both of the examples we have of partner
Been white
dragons
dragons.
have been
I
white
would
dragons.
think red, if anything, like the Lannister vibes, like keeping the bloodline strong. You know, for the true, because they truly believe like
Or
by
your
divine
metallics.
right they're the greatest. Yeah.
Right, your golds, your silvers.
Yeah.
If you like what you've seen here or heard here, we can recommend that you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or on r/itsAmimic on Reddit to get more information or get in contact with us. If you have any questions or you want to email us some questions for the mailbag episodes, you can reach us at info@itsamimic.com. We are always taking questions for the mailbag and would love to hear from you.
All right, I want to roll again. We have so many more dragons to go through. Guys, there's only 22 left.
What? No, I got 6.
No, I'm kidding.
13,
There's
I'm
only,
going first.
there's only 10 left.
We're getting close. All right, so we were just talking about how we're tired of white dragons.
Yep.
Well, I've got Glazhael, an adult white dragon found in Hoard of the Dragon Queen.
Sure.
You just carried on. It's nothing.
So, Glazhael is known as Glazhael the Cloud Chaser, and in the module, he is serving the effort to help raise Tiamat.
Okay.
Okay? He's hoping that his efforts will be rewarded with big power from Tiamat and riches from Tiamat. Basically, if he raises her, he'll get, as a dragon, obviously, he will be raised through the ranks.
He's a
He'll be
true
given-
believer in the cult of the dragon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he will get all the power from it. He's very proud and not especially quick-witted. He's described in the book as dim-witted.
Yeah.
He's prone to flattery and falling victim to quick speech and can probably be outwitted by a particularly sharp adventurer. There is some fun role-playing stuff here to think about, like this pompous white dragon. Again, we don't really think about that with the whites, right? White dragons we always considered to be these hunters, these cunning kind of...
Yeah, but you can have pompous hunters, right?
Yes, you can.
yeah.
And this is what he is.
I'm thinking of the dad from Jumanji.
Yeah.
When
okay.
he comes back
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
the safari version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you're the stupidest person in the room, you're probably the only one that doesn't know it.
Yeah,
You know?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's still not stupid. He's still going to have your standard adult white dragon stat block. He's still going to be more intelligent than your average person.
Right.
But he's, as far as dragons go, he's you play him a little more dim-witted than that.
Yeah.
So he can easily be bribed or bought as well. He likes shiny things, but again, as long as it's not in contradiction to the raising of Tiamat. So he's not interested in killing you if it doesn't further the summoning of Tiamat, right, or the freeing of Tiamat. So again, his kind of motivation is not the typical white dragon. It's all about the cult. So fighting is obviously going to be a bad decision if you make it, but it's going to be really easy to avoid with this guy.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
Again, no special stat block for him. Standard adult white
Heart of the
dragon.
Dragon Queen was the first adventure, so they were probably just going off the monster manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me next.
That's you, Adam, yeah.
So, in Heart of the Dragon Queen, there's a brief mention in passing about a couple of black dragons. When you head to Castle Neratar, you find evidence of twin black dragons from old lore in previous editions. Their names are Voaraghamanthar and Waervaerendor. Jesus. And while they don't get the spotlight, they do have an interesting backstory. Here's what I dug up on what is called in D&D lore the Black Brothers. The thing that makes them most unique is the fact that they share a secret empathic bond that makes them act almost as if they share the same mind and soul. Normally upon hatching, black wormlings will fight and kill each other until there's only one left. But Voaraghamanthar and Waervaerendor teamed up. They killed the others and they fled. Since then, they've fended for each other and worked together as they took over the Mere of Dead Men on the Sword Coast. They aren't interested in many other creatures who are merely food to them, but they do like to use adventuring parties as tools. Waervaerendor would approach and be social, but if that fails, then Voaraghamanthar would swoop in to attack. So there's the social and then the combat. For the most part, the twins both masquerade as one dragon. Voaraghamanthar is the face, and the other one just kind of stays back and then pretends to be him whenever there's time to
You
have
never
a
see them both
conversation.
in the same place at the same time.
No, they
It's
go out-
Superman and Clark Kent, but actually two
I
different
love
people.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Almost no one knows that there are two of them, and they only really show a force of strength when another dragon moves into the area and needs to be killed. Then they'll work together, the same place at the same time. Other than that, they hide from dragons. They don't want any other dragons to know there's two of them working together because then they're a threat.
I'm racing with inspiration with these two.
Yeah. So they hide underwater. They like their little swamp, their bog, and they really kind of rule the area, but they're not super involved in the politics either.
The lizard folk worship them, though, in the area.
Yes. So the big thing about them is they can appear anywhere without warning because there's a lot of water, and they do swim and stay out of sight a whole lot. And everyone tells rumors about how he's so fast that it's almost like he can be in two places at once. Other than that, they hide and enjoy being worshipped by the lizard folk. They're only loosely attached to the cult of the dragon and don't really want to get involved in most agendas. In fact, the Horde of the Dragon Queen mentions that most adventuring parties shouldn't even meet the Black Brothers because they'll appear in Rise of Tiamat. And then you check Rise of Tiamat, and they're not there.
Yeah.
So then that's it. You look online, you can see the most people who run the adventure are frustrated by the lack of dragons in the Tyranny of Dragons arc storyline. So they've inserted Voaraghamanthar in a bigger role, but it seems mostly to just be as a standard black dragon. And the idea here is that you could play a dragon with a seemingly split personality, only to reveal that they were two dragons all along this entire time.
You could do so much with this.
I've actually already stolen this.
Oh, yeah?
As well, you should
So when
have.
I inherited the Clear Cut campaign from Dan,
Yeah.
I didn't know where to take over, and we were following a Dragon Age storyline anyways. So I actually basically took this out of that module and started to play it, and then the party disbanded because,
Yeah.
campaigns happen, especially when your DM changes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I freaking love this. This is beautiful.
It's absolutely brilliant. I saw this, I was so inspired, and I'm like, I'm not even going to change it. I'm just going to straight up steal it. And I dropped it in the campaign.
I want to know their backstory and like how they were raised. Why are they?
They were on their
different?
own hunting and they were hatched with an empathic link already. So something just happened to them while they were in the eggs.
But they operate differently, right? Considering they've been together from birth in the same environment, doing the same things, they have naturally different skills that they lean into.
Well, it's like no twins are exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
You always have
They
the
different skill sets.
Yeah.
And
I don't believe in twins.
You don't believe in twins? Dan would like to.
I think it's the biggest conspiracy ever.
Yeah. So, you ever seen Dan's twins in the same room at the same time?
Never.
You ever seen my twins in the same room at the same time?
Exactly that.
No.
yeah, unfortunately, there was that one time I walked in on you.
That was an unfortunate, Brad. We gave you an invite. There, it's your turn. Help rescue me from this conversation.
Okay, well, sticking with Horde of the Dragon Queen, I'm going to talk about Lennithon. And there isn't too much lore that I could find on Lennithon, but there is a lot of inspiration that can be had.
Well, when Lennithon died, he was followed by Stalagma, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you just have a cultural flashback there? No, your cultural flashback would be he had a big fight with McCarthy-thon. Is that what it is?
That's exactly what happened, yeah. Okay, so Lennithon appears almost immediately in Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Is an adult blue dragon, which is whom is hired by the Cult of the Dragon under Severin Silregin to attack Greenest, which I believe is the town that you start in at the start of Hoard of the Dragon Queen. And he rather unenthusiastically is performing his role as though he really either doesn't want to be there or does not believe he should have been ordered to be there or feels like he should be doing some kind of grander task.
The Cult of the Dragon is not powerful enough to be worthy of his notice at this early in the campaign.
Right.
But they were paying him to do a job, so he did it half-assed. He basically flew around, burnt a town down, and was like, yeah.
That's exactly it. He flies around, comes in close, lets off a couple of breath weapons, comes back a little bit, and then eventually, if he takes on too much damage, just starts to leave. But there isn't too much lore on him. But where it did inspire me was to demonstrate to newer DMs and to players to enjoy it that you can bring in high-level creatures such as dragons. You can enjoy them even when the party is lower level. You don't need to be saying, oh, I can't wait till we get to 3rd or 4th tier when I can bring in these adult and ancient dragons. You can bring them in for different reasons. Scare the shit out of the party immediately. You're level 1 in Greenest.
Kill NPCs.
You should talk to Dan and Dave and Megan, who are in my Sunday campaign, because they are level 2 and they are fighting purple worms left, right, and center right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Life finds a way. There's always a way to
kill a player. Yeah.
But even because of this is a great example where Lennithon's tactics for this encounter is that he has no intention of flying close, but he is letting off a breath weapon. So there's little puzzles you can do along the way, little encounters and scenarios where this dragon is still causing damage or affecting things.
I feel like you're getting skill challenges and environment stuff.
NPCs trapped under rubble, things going off, there's things you can do.
Chaos.
I love chaos.
There's a lot of complaints about Hoard of the Dragon Queen specifically because it starts with this. It opens with this encounter, and it is so lethal to players if they don't know that they can't take it on. And that's where it's on. It's bad for new DMs, but any experienced DM will know. Okay, the whole point of this is to kill the NPCs, show the players the power of a dragon, and have it take off.
You start session 1, or the moment this dragon shows up, and you say your characters. What's your intelligence score? And no matter what it is, you're intelligent enough to know that you cannot win a fight against this.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Or just, it may be newer DMs if they're following a module from level 1, right? So they maybe haven't realized this. But remember, stop putting your players in a situation where they think they have to fight it. Yeah. Lennithon, I keep wanting to say Leningrad. Leningrad is flying away. He's coming in and he doesn't necessarily attack your players.
No.
There could be 1,000 people in Greenest firing arrows at him. Don't put all of the attention on the players right away. Instead, give them situations that are occurring because this dragon is attacking the town, not these 4 people in particular.
Let's roll dice.
12.
18.
Tide 18's gone, Brad.
14.
Nat 20.
There you go. You
All
get
right.
first.
So before I can get into this next one, I have to explain that there's one part of Dungeon of the Mad Mage that sees the adventuring party enter a fortress that is 1/12 its regular size. They do this the same way that every other creature in the fortress explores it, by shrinking to 1/12 their own size.
Because Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Right.
Yep. I bring this up because there's a violet fairy dragon named Otto, who is in this miniature fortress, but he's immune to the shrinking. And that's right.
So
He operates like a fairy dragon that's 12 feet long with 104 hit points and a strength of 18.
amazing.
Fuck.
Amazing.
So remember, violet fairy dragons can cast polymorph once per day, and this fairy dragon is prone to boredom.
As fairy dragons are prone to do.
Yep, he likes to pull pranks on stone giants nearby, but his main pastime is fighting the other creature that doesn't shrink down inside the fortress, the homunculus of the evil owner of the fortress. In this adventure, it says that Otto the fairy dragon will offer rest and relaxation for the adventurers if they can lure the seemingly large-sized homunculus outside and trap it there. Because the two of them fight all the fucking time, and they always... Otto wins, but he can't get the homunculus out of the fortress.
Right.
There's not much else to say about this neat little side quest in the adventure, but I think it provides a good example for DMs who like to play with world building. Some NPCs have their own priorities and their own battles. They don't give a shit about the player characters overall plots, important themes, or good versus evil. Much like real people, some NPCs are too worried about their own problems to be invested in yours. And this is true for dragons too, despite how good or evil they may be.
Truth.
Yeah.
True that.
I like it. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, okay. So my other complaint here is that there's a very famous wizard named Otto, and it's spelled the exact same
yes.
way. And he's got an irresistible dance, and that's what you know him from. It's Otto's Irresistible Dance. That's the spell name.
Right.
And why did they double up on...
Right.
They keep doubling up on names like Ravenloft, but also Castle Ravenloft. And we have Avernus, and then also Castle Avernus. Why are you doing this shit?
I have a theory on this.
Yeah?
I think it's generational rotation. As people come in, and they just don't know. I think the way Wizards is growing so quickly with video games and stuff like that, they will be bringing on staff and freaking engineers and writers and all this stuff so quickly to push this product out. The chances are they probably just didn't know there was Otto.
Well, all this, okay, maybe. But the other thing, too, about this is that they are sitting there with all of this back history, this backlog of all these adventures and shit. And you have to keep in mind, there were 2 magazines that were releasing every month with new adventures and new NPCs. People weren't cross-referencing with each other. There was a sheer number of 3.5 books that were introduced. Yeah. The fact that it wasn't easy to get D&D material back in the original D&D days. It was an undertaking to get the Little Brown books, the original rule set, right? So there was probably gaps in information as people were, Avernus, how do I remember that? It's a cool word. I'll use it for a castle as well, not realizing that Gygax is currently writing a book about the Nine Elves, right? So, like, there's going to be weird miscommunications. It all became canon, and now, as we're cherry-picking what we like, we're not going to rewrite it because the purists are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So, there's that too. But also, I don't care. Make it different. It's less confusing that way.
Yeah, I'm going against what I just said in that every time you come up with an NPC name or a place name, you should just Google D&D Otto and see what comes. Oh, that one already exists.
That's literally how I do about half of my prep for every episode.
100%.
Once I'm done everything in 5th edition, I've done my research, I set it aside, and Google, what did I miss? Oh, shit, where is that? And then I go digging, right? So, anyway.
Yeah. All right. I have Venomfang. Venomfang, for new players, is a good chance this will be the first dragon you ever meet, because he is in the Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Oh, okay.
All right. So,
which is in the starter set.
Which is in the starter set. So if you're introducing new players, I still say Essentials might be a better tool at this point, but I still think this is an excellent tool for introducing new players.
Look, the Lost Mines of Phandelver is hailed as being the single best and most comprehensive introduction to D&D that we've ever had. Also, it's ranked among the top 3 adventures.
It's actually really well written. If you write it off as a starter set book for beginners,
Dave and Dan have both played through it, and they both hail it as being fantastic.
Yeah,
I haven't managed. I've read it, but I haven't sunk my teeth into it.
Yeah, I haven't run it, but I've gone through it in preparation to run it, and I'm just so impressed by how well it was written. Anyways, Venomfang is a young green dragon that you'll find in that book. He's taken over a tower in the town of Thundertree. Great town name. The tower used to belong to a wizard who died when the town was destroyed by ash zombies 30 years prior.
Thundertree sounds like the name of a show coming out on Netflix next month.
It probably is.
No, that's not a reference to anything. That just sounds like... It does, yeah. Next month, we're going to be releasing episode where season 1 of Thundertree. Yeah. All right, fuck you, Netflix.
Wow. Anyway, so, the town was destroyed by ash zombies. He came in 30 years later, took over the tower. In taking over the tower, you have to kick out the previous inhabitants who are giant spiders, so you'll find their corpses all over the tower as well.
Cool.
Again, young green, right? So he's still trying to figure his way in the world, establish his own lair, and so he has picked this spot, realizing that's a decent spot for a lair, and has set up shop. Like any other dragon, he spends most of his time admiring the treasures that he's already acquired, which consists of some spell scrolls and a modest pile of coin. He's also unaware that the most valuable item in his hoard is...
his big freaking wang.
No. It is. It might as well be. No, it's an unassuming magic battle axe.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, that's what I said. It might as well be. But basically what this axe does is anytime you are damaging... Basically, it's created by a dwarf who is in battle with the tree blights, I think. I didn't write this part down, but dryads, actually. It was dryads.
Dryads, okay.
So anytime you attack a plant-based object, so a tree or a dryad or something like that, blights, you will do max damage automatically.
Huh. Auto crit.
Auto crit. So as long as you hit, you do max damage.
I mean, it's not technically an auto crit.
No,
but
yeah.
It might as well be.
Exactly. Yeah. So just a little cool. That's one of the treasures that he protects, but it doesn't look like much. But it's cool. As well, he's a young green, right? So he's brash, he's proud, he's arrogant, but he also knows that he would rather live to fight another day. So should you fight him, and again, like a lot of dragons, right? They get to half health. They're going to fly away to live another day and come back with another plan.
I am a strong believer in if it has an intelligence of 5 or more, it will retreat when it's hurt, unless it's a zealot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or
has something it's protecting that's more important than its own life.
Or it's planar. Because if you kill an angel or a fiend or whatever in the material plane, it'll just resurrect on its home plane and then come back for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But like dragons and shit, no, they'll book it. They'll run.
Absolutely. So that was kind of my takeaway for this, is a reminder that, you know, even the youngest dragon, the most brash dragon, is still going to run when it needs to. The other thing I've got from this is Venomfang is a perfect generic dragon template to use for new players.
Sure.
If you just want to pull out some sort of dragon fight because you have brand new players, it's Dungeons and Dragons, they want to explore a dungeon, they want to fight a dragon,
This is a good place
pull
to
this
start.
out.
Yeah.
It is so basic. There's
Just
nothing
whip
special.
out your Venomfang.
Exactly. He uses no special stat block. He has no special rules. It's super simple.
There's no lair you got to worry about.
No lair.
He's too young.
Yeah, he hasn't established his own lair yet, so it's just...
It's a great introduction for
Here
the
it
DM
is.
and the players.
Exactly.
With a low-level horde, too, because it's spell scrolls and gold.
You're still going to get treasure. You're not getting anything that's going to break your game.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Even this axe, like, either suit something suited to your own campaign and use this as inspiration, or give him this axe. This isn't going to break your campaign.
It doesn't have to be an axe. It could be a bow that does it against spider creatures,
Exactly.
right? Like
Yeah.
you
Just
can
take the mechanic
Exactly.
and adjust it. Yeah, absolutely.
Automax damage weapon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, my next dragon is Calcrix, the white dragon wormling from
More than
Tales
white
from the
dragons.
Yawning Portal. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And this is going to be a real quick one. This is a little part of the adventure where you... the party comes across a group of kobolds who has lost their pet dragon, their pet white dragon wormling, and you are tasked to go and rescue the dragon wormling, who, if I remember correctly, internet scream at me, I believe has been kidnapped by, I think, goblins, but I might be remembering that wrong. But anyway, kidnapped by another group. And then lo and behold, when you go and you find Calcrix has decided that he prefers where he is now and does not want to come back with you.
Which one of the... Is this the Sunless Citadel that this is in?
Yes.
Then it's goblins.
It is goblins, yeah. Calcrix has decided that he prefers where he wants to be now and does not want to come back with you. But you are promised aid from the kobolds if you return him. And so you then have...
The goblins let me stay up whenever I want and eat ice cream for dinner.
It's
I want to stay too.
It is that. Calcrix is
I got
treated...
kids. I don't even get to do that anymore.
is treated better by the goblins than the kobolds, which essentially is two groups of fuckwits. You got to decide which one.
It's a lose-lose, really, as an adventurer.
I like the idea, too, that the goblins aren't doing it because they worship them. They're just like, I gotta piss off the kobolds.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. But there is almost like a small hoard of like gems and the things that the goblins have collected that Calcrix essentially gets to protect and kind of feels like it's his own. So it's his own kind of first time. It's his starter set hoard that he's got, and he prefers it. But where this inspired me, where this inspired me is it reminded me that wherever your party goes, they should not find truly what they expect to find. Go and rescue the dragon wormling. Perfect. Here's the dragon worming. The dragon worming doesn't want to come back.
That's a level like 1 to 3 adventure as well, right?
Perfect. Perfect introduction. But it reminded me of that. Whenever there's something, DMs, and don't screw your brain around trying to figure out what's it going to be. Take something that is true or something that is expected. Take one thing and just reverse it. It's an easy way. Bring the dragon back. It doesn't want to come back.
As simple as I don't want to. Can totally change an entire NPC.
And you do that. You've done that with us before. Yeah, I don't. You have difficult NPCs that we have to work around. It's all part of the fun. Oh, you fuck.
Sidebar, Terry, you should know that Mieka's playing in a campaign. She's separated from the rest of the party. Camion, who is my favorite imp character, who has terrorized everybody across 3 or 4 different campaigns now, who Mieka created in a previous campaign. She's now playing her character's daughter, and Camion is like overseeing her and whatnot. Camion finally pulled his double cross, killed one of the kings of hell, murdered Mieka's character down to death saves, and left her in a UNT dungeon and fucked off. And she ended the session by actually succeeding on her third death save, barely, but she is still unconscious behind enemy lines, wearing the enemy like soldiers' clothing, unconscious, surrounded by the corpses of the enemy. So, and Camion is now a super archdevil. So
I fucking hate that guy.
So difficult NPCs can have long-term gains.
They
and
stick with you.
Oh, I am so in love. Camion is actually on the wall over there. We had character art given to us.
Yeah, I remember seeing it.
One last round of dragons, guys.
All right, I think it's the last one I got in me. So that's good.
I got a 4.
Oh, I knocked you over.
15.
I got a 1.
All right, Terry,
I'm
you're
going
up.
again. I will be discussing the ancient silver dragon Argynvost from the Curse of Strahd campaign. So, the interesting thing about Argynvost, if you play Curse of Strahd, spoiler alert, he's dead. So,
all of these ones are dead. We've got dead dragons up
we've
now.
got dead dragons all over the place. But that's the story of Argynvost, the ancient silver dragon who first came to the Valley of Barovia in the guise of a nobleman. He had heard of a place called the Amber Temple, and it was a repository of evil power guarded by the forces of good. Argynvost wanted to make sure that the evil sealed there wouldn't be able to be allowed to escape, so he built a fortified mansion close by, which is Argynvost Halls. Now, what's interesting about this situation is I just mentioned that Argynvost was dead. It's because after he comes to the Valley of Barovia, he's battling Strahd before Strahd was Strahd as we kind of know him here, and fights Strahd back a little bit, and then Strahd comes back with more forces and wins. The good guy, the ancient silver dragon, loses. And what I love about Argynvost is it's kind of like Rhaegar Targaryen in the Game of Thrones, in that he's like, spoiler alert for that, the most like significant person is already dead in the story, and you're kind of uncovering it as you sort of go along. So Argynvost is very interesting for that, and it's another reminder to players to DMs rather, that don't go along with that standard narrative of the good guys always have to win. Maybe the good guys losing is where your campaign starts and picks up along the way. And we get it into our mind where we expect that eventually the good guys will win. So at some point along the road, trip people up with that. You know, it's your party's mission to win overall, but people that they are expecting to win already because they're ancient silver dragons, and of course they will maintain good, sometimes will lose.
I like to use the good guys losing right at an act break. Because look, we did the storylines episodes way back when, and I often think of D&D as a 3 or 5 act play. It works with 4 acts very cleanly with the tiers, but I like to break it up a little bit. And what's really interesting with Strahd, the Curse of Strahd, your party comes in at the beginning of the final act. Act 1 is Strahd versus Argynvost.
Yeah.
Act 2 is Strahd falling and his lady love dying, and he kills his brother, and the curse of Barovia, the curse of Strahd, right? And then Act 3 is you guys coming in and undoing that shit and wrapping it up and killing Strahd. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So like it very much is Argynvost dying was a major turning point in this, and everyone is still feeling those effects in the story.
And you've just reminded me another important lesson there, which is DMs, when you're trying to, this module is a great example of this, when you're trying to build your own campaigns and trying to create your own stories, don't think about how do I get to the story and build it. Just start the story. People will pick it up. Every great movie, it's already happening. We'll figure it out. What's that guy he's talking about? Bankfall. Okay. Oh yeah, he mentioned him earlier. Just get in there.
They call that in media res.
Yeah.
Okay. When you start in the action,
middle.
And it literally means starting in the middle, right? And so the idea here is that you will get to the details of why we're doing this later. James Bond movies are great for that shit.
Perfect,
Every one of them opens up with an action sequence. You're like, I don't know why the guy with the clear face disfigurement is the bad guy, but I believe he is, and we'll find out later why.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess I was second.
Next with a
so
4.
let's go from Barovia to Exandria. So this is the Wildmount campaign. Deep below the ruined city full of magical artifacts known as the Vault of Shadows, there are catacombs full of horror and death. Undeath, specifically. Oracs the Enduring is an ancient black Dracolich who has made his home in the dark depths below the city and focuses on killing, then raising, then weaponizing his enemies.
Cool. I definitely thought that said orcas, not Oracs.
No, it's Oracs. God, like, just choose different freaking letters. You know what? I can... It's all too close. The Orcus having the word orc, but having nothing to do with orcs, drives me nuts as well.
Yes, that one drives me nuts.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
I was expecting a giant killer whale dragon, and I was here for it.
No, that's wrong. It's not orcas. It's Oracs the Enduring. He has teamed up with a core spawn seer, which is a Mercer original monster that essentially operates as a creepy aberration spellcaster-ish that essentially transforms energy.
That's his special spell casting that he created, right?
Yeah. So they've teamed up to build an army of undead made up of would-be grave robbers and relic seekers. There's not a whole lot of information in Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, and to my knowledge, he's only been name-dropped in Critical Role and not actually encountered. But we do know that plants grow thick and warped within a 6-mile radius of Oryx's lair, and all the water in the surrounding area has been spoiled and fouled. The biggest inspiration I get out of reading Orax's info is that it's his environment that is so impressive, that and his ambition, which I guess is the takeaway here, because Oracs the Enduring was an ancient dragon. So you know he was pretty damned ambitious for a long time. Then he became so ambitious that he became a lich when he died.
Sure.
Yeah.
But his ambition still remains now, and a lot of times when you have an ancient red dragon, they have big ambitions. When you have a lich, they have big ambitions. But when you have a Dracolich, they're just hanging out in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Liches are crazy enough about the big picture, and so are dragons in their own way. When you combine the two, I mean, how can you have a Dracolich that isn't hell-bent on world domination?
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
like, where do they go from there? And then they'll get it, and they'll do cosmic planar domination.
Won't end.
No, like
It won't
it
end.
will keep going.
It's
until
never
they're
enough.
done, right?
Never enough.
So why do we not have a Dracolich god? If Vecna can do it, if Tiamat can do it, we should combine the two and have a Dracolich evil god.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking for next. Maybe I'll do that in a campaign at some point.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right.
All right, last one here. This is my favorite one. Miirym. So Miirym we encounter in Candlekeep Mysteries. So Miirym was once an ancient silver dragon but has died, and now only her spirit remains. So the reason this worked, about 1,500 years ago, Miirym the Sentinel Worm, it was what she was known as when she was alive, what she's known as now. She tried to break into Candlekeep in order to acquire the wealth and treasures inside for herself.
You can't do that.
No, you cannot.
Candlekeep is warded. You're not going to get that
No,
shit.
but she didn't know
But you're
that.
a dragon. I'm going to try
Dragon,
it.
you're going to try it anyways. She managed to destroy a lot of books, kill a lot of bookkeeps, until she was eventually subdued by the Archmage within the Halls of Candlekeep. He placed her under an entrapment spell and basically sentenced her to serve as a protector of Candlekeep as reparation for what she had done.
What kind of dragon was she?
She was a silver dragon.
And she attacked Candlekeep.
Yes.
Interesting. All right.
Yes, I know. I caught that as well. I thought that was kind of odd, the choice, but that's what it is. However, the problem comes here because before her sentence was served out, the Archmage that put the entrapment on her, the spell on her, passed away. He died. And
Wait, what?
so, right, she was imprisoned within Candlekeep. She was placed under a spell in order to protect it. Well, the Archmage who placed that on her, he died. And none of the other mages within Candlekeep knew how to undo the spell.
Oops.
So basically,
We lost the
mad.
key. Sorry.
We don't-
so
we got no
basically,
idea.
she lived out all of her days stuck in this entrapment.
Oh my god.
She eventually dies. However, the spell is so powerful that her spirit is still bound within the halls of Candlekeep under this
So she's a ghostly
imprisonment.
protector.
So she's a ghostly protector of Candlekeep.
I like that.
I
that's
love
fun.
it. I think it's very flavorful, very interesting. So, anyone who sees her now only is able to describe her as a set of spectral jaws ready to breathe weapons and destruction spells upon you.
Okay.
So if you happen to see her, you're just going to see a pair of spectral jaws, and it looks like it's just about to breathe whatever it can on you.
Great big open mouth of fangs.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just floating around. She is forever bound to Candlekeep as its protector and has no hoard of her own. Her hoard is Candlekeep and is not her own.
Okay.
She is unable to leave Candlekeep by any means. And that includes any extraplanar teleportation magic. There is nothing that can remove her from there. That's how powerful this spell is that's holding her in place.
She's stuck in purgatory.
Exactly. And absolutely nothing can remove her. So this servitude can be called on at any point by the keepers of Candlekeep. There are high level mages within Candlekeep, and they can call her at any time to come and protect them, or she can basically kill anybody who's wandering the halls that they don't want wandering the halls. She can move throughout it freely on her own, but she can move through walls, she can move through objects. She is spectral, right? So wherever you are, she will find you and she will get to you. And she can be summoned by the keepers of Candlekeep. By far, this is the coolest concept to me that we've discussed today, because it's the most unique.
Yeah.
We've discussed some really interesting ones, but this one stands out to me.
It's tragic, and it's such an excessive punishment. It's such
Yes.
overkill.
Yeah.
What she did was not good.
No.
But to
And we don't know why
balance-
she did it. Maybe she went in there to destroy some evil tomes or anything. She's a silver dragon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
She may have had good
misguided, but
intentions.
with a good intention.
And
Right?
would a silver dragon even feel the need to explain their actions?
No.
Road to hell, right?
Yeah.
Paved with good intentions. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think the intent, from what I read, the intention wasn't to keep her in servitude forever. Unfortunately, the mage that cast the spell died, and no one else knew how to undo it.
Now, you and I were talking about this before we hit record, and
Yes.
there was a little bit of a disparity between her size and the Lord saying what age that she is.
Yes,
So she died of old age, but she's a large apparition.
correct. Yes,
So that leads me to believe that,
she was maybe small, maybe or young or adult, somewhere in between.
well, I'm gonna back up and say that I had originally pitched the idea that she would have been a young dragon,
Yes.
just based on that, and they've heaped a bunch of other special ghost powers to make her such a high CR level, right?
Yeah.
Because she is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I envision that she lived out her days, and it's just that in this spectral form, she's a little bit smaller than
I don't
she
even think
was.
she's she's smaller. Her jaws are the only thing you
interesting.
see, and they are large size.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too.
So
yeah.
there you go.
So yeah, because ancient dragon really makes the most sense given the fact that she was in prison for all of her days. She would have lived out a life and died within the halls of Candlekeep. So a little bit quickly on the stat block for her, she loses a little bit of physical stats based. If we're going to go off of an ancient
Undead.
silver, right? Undead, she's going to lose a little bit of her physical stats. She also loses all of her physical attacks minus bite.
Yeah, look, we get that with the incorporeals.
Yeah, it's to be expected. Interestingly, she also loses Detect as a legendary action, which I would expect her to keep with the spectral form, given the fact
I don't
the way
think she
moves
needs
through. Yeah, we'll cover a little bit of that. Yeah, I think you're right. She doesn't. She also obviously loses her wing attack with this form.
Sure.
But what she gains makes up for it, I would say. She gains incorporeal movement, which allows her to move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. She gains X-ray vision, right, allowing her to see through anything up to 3 meters aside from a thin sheet of lead.
The barbarian and the bard are standing there with nothing to hide.
Yes.
It's like, yeah,
Yep, here I am.
yeah.
Soak it in. She retains all of the breath attacks, but also gains a necrotic breath attack.
But undead.
Yeah, so
right.
it makes sense. All of this it's on brand, but just
Yeah.
for rules. So, and then she gains innate spell casting, and this is what I thought was most interesting. She gets dancing lights,
Sure.
mage hand.
Yeah.
Both of those are cantrips, so at will.
Yeah, but that's poltergeist level shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Too, 'cause she's a ghost.
But it's at will.
Yeah.
She gets detect magic, detect thoughts, dispel magic, locate creature 3 times a day. Any of those.
So locate
Yeah,
creatures.
exactly,
yeah.
right? That's kind of, as the guardian of the halls, it makes sense.
Detect thoughts as well. She can find out where you are.
Yeah. And then lastly, once a day, she can do dispel evil and good. And lastly, wall of force. Makes sense, right? All of this is kind of on brand
Yeah,
for
I got no issues
a
with
spectral ghost dragon who's floating through the halls of Candlekeep.
Yeah.
And finally, very cool, she gains the legendary action in teleport, allowing her to teleport up to 120 feet.
Which is good because
Yeah.
she's primarily in the catacombs, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Which means that 120 feet with the X-ray vision means that she can go up and down multiple
Anywhere.
levels.
Yes.
Right.
So
Again, she can roam pretty much freely, but generally she'll stay to lower levels, and if she's summoned elsewhere, then she'll show up there. But just a very cool concept of,
Really
hey, let's
cool.
take a dragon and just make something completely different.
Tragic,
that's
though,
cool.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. So the lore, the style, the combat, I love all of that.
Do we have any final thoughts on dragons, these famous dragons, what we've learned from
Is there
them.
anything we haven't covered?
I mean, even if you decide, there's going to be something that you use, but even if you don't go with that, what it does is it just gets your inspirations racing, and it gives you that permission to try things, and essentially says you can have charisma casters, you can have dragons using wands, you can have undead spectral dragons. There's so many ways. Wormlings can be fun. You know, it's so it's just a huge inspiration piece for me.
Yeah, for the first time ever, it occurs to me that there could be multiple layers for one dragon.
Yes.
Right? We saw that a couple of times as well. The idea of the mates was really interesting. So, like, there's a lot that goes into this that makes them characters and not beasts. And as much as the lore in the monster manual says, oh, they've got these attitudes, these personalities, they're all like this, it's very one-dimensional, and the stat block doesn't support that. They're just beasts, right? That's it. There's no personality to it outside of their breath weapons. I love digging into the famous ones, and I will do this for whatever creature that I'm going to really highlight. If I'm going to use gnolls, I'm sitting there going, all right, where the fuck are there gnolls so far in 5th edition? I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to start digging around to see how the designers of the game meant to use these stat blocks. Because they're going to change it, they're going to make it different. Every time that you get a leader or a war chief or anything like that, they're going to have special unique crap to them. And of course, every dragon is a leader.
Yes.
Even the wormlings. So they almost always get something unique. Even if it's not a mechanical stat, it is something unique about their lore or personality.
Yeah, I think just like all that. And the biggest thing I pulled away from our conversation tonight as well is take account the age, the changing of age of your dragons, right? As they mature. An adult dragon is not the same from start to finish. It is going to grow over that time, right? Concerning the entire lifetime of a dragon, adulthood, I mean, even us as people who don't live that long, you know, adulthood, when you legally reach the age of 18, become an adult, to the time where
65 you become
65
a senior.
you become a senior.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference between 18 and 65. There's a big difference between 30 and 35, right? Like, it's,
There is.
There really is,
It really is. So play your dragons accordingly, right? Not all adult dragons are going to have the same maturity. Not all ancient dragons. And deterioration of ancient dragons as well, right?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. Terry, any final?
My last one is that there are exceptions to every rule with dragons, or at least perceived exceptions. That last one was a great point there.
Yeah.
We're going, why would the silver dragon do that?
Yeah.
But the truth is, you don't know. They don't need to explain themselves.
No.
There's a reason why they thought that them as a good dragon needed to do this, or that an evil dragon we saw earlier can do generous acts if it fits them.
Yeah.
And your players, they don't need an answer.
No.
Right. As a matter of
You
fact,
as a DM don't even have to have the
Look,
answer.
they gave us a steel dragon out of the blue and said, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Right? So,
Yeah.
like, you as a DM don't need to justify every little piece of lore. You can just drop it in there. If they want to go digging, then develop the lore.
Yes.
You don't have to have your whole world built all at once.
And remember, that's real life as well. People do things and say things every single day where you're like, I don't know why my boss is acting like that. They're a friggin' asshole. But there's a reason, right? You know?
So, that was a lot of dragons, but we're not done with dragons yet. There are a lot of other pieces of lore in Dungeons & Dragons, including a brand new book that is going to come out before this episodes. Before this episode. It's been a long episode.
Before this episode airs.
That's the one. Make sure that you subscribe or follow and check back regularly to see what other inspirations and insights we're going to have for you in the future. Next week, we're going to be diving headfirst into another long list of famous celebrities in 5th edition so far.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about another Otto in that one. So, anyway.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website. That's www.itsamimic.com, as well as a store for some awesome merch. We also rely on word of mouth to get news of the podcast out there to the community. So please pass the word to everyone you know that we're available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as most podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
Thank you for listening to another It's a Mimic production. Inquiries, shoutouts, requests, and mailbag questions can be sent to info@itsamimic.com.
Okay, so at the time of this recording, we haven't yet seen Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, but it's coming soon, and it made me wonder who exactly this Fizban character is, and why I never heard of him before, so I went digging. And I discovered that if you made Gandalf a little more doddering, set him down in the Dragonlance campaign setting and gave him the Dan treatment of being bald on top, but keeping the beard. Love you, Dan, don't kill me. You'll get Fizban. So, despite the fact that he's from Dragonlance, why is he attached to a Draconomicon in the Forgotten Realms? Because traditionally, he's actually an avatar of the dragon god Paladin, who is the patron deity of the gods of good. He's a platinum dragon and oversees such abstract ideas as greatness, leadership, and redemption, acting as the god who watches over those who have fallen into corruption but are trying to make their way back to light. Ultimately, Paladin is focused on balance, and while an evil god was stripped of this immortality in the Dragonlance pantheon, Paladin gave up his immortality as well, and now walks the world as Valthonis, which means the exile in Elvish. So, back to Fizban. How does an avatar of a god reconcile with the fact that the god is now mortal and walking around? Well, there have been some updates to him in 5th edition. Firstly, they cut his beard back to be less Gandalfish. They also made his robe and hat green and gave him hair and a stoner's smile in the art that I've seen so far. In traditional Greyhawk lore, Bahamut liked to walk the earth, as an old man that talked to canaries. These canaries were actually gold dragons in disguise. Over time, Wizards of the Coast has blended Greyhawk and the Forgotten Realms lore, so we see Bahamut and Tiamat in the current campaign setting, although Bahamut has been largely absent so far. Considering that Paladin is Bahamut's Dragonlance equivalent and counterpart, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Fizban become Bahamut's avatar. I mean, they have already completely buggered up Mordenkainen's backstory. They made Ravenloft a subsection of the Shadowfell. They threw Tash's timeline all out of whack. They rewrote the truth about tiefling origins. It is entirely possible that they're going to cherry pick Fizban's characteristics and redefine him to suit their purposes. But maybe not. Wizards of the Coast has announced that there will be 3 classic settings returning over the next 2 years, and Hickman and Weiss, the creators of Dragonlance, have recently dropped their lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast as well, which I call bullshit on, but that's a different story and based entirely upon my own speculation. But on top of it all, Hickman and Weiss are kicking up a new Kickstarter for their own 5e compatible D&D rulebook for Dragonlance, the same way that Keith Baker did for his creation Eberron right around the time that Eberron Rising from the Last War was released. So, with the art for Fizban being surrounded by canaries, but that's Bahamut's thing, and he doesn't look like the old traditional Fizban from previous editions. He's clearly got an update, and we've got a whole lot of Bahamut shit coming in this next book. I'm wondering if he's really going to be Paladin. So I guess the answer now for who is Fizban is we don't know officially, at least until the book comes out. By the time that this episode comes out, the listeners will have a bit of a better answer, and I'm eager to get to that shit.
Well, we thought we had the answer for Tasha, who she was in Cauldron of Everything, and then spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. She's in Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Yes,
so,
she is.
So
not just in it, a significant part. Not just name drop. She's plays this part.
Oh, wow.
yeah, she gets a stat block. So.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that when we recorded next week's episode. So.
Correct.
So, I mean...
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Yeah, it's safe to say for Fizban that he's at the very least a platinum dragon god of good and law, masquerading as a befuddled mortal wizard. And that's about all we know for certain. I'm curious to see how they bring him into the Forgotten Realms.
Can we talk about quickly the fact that they named the Platinum Dragon of Good Paladin with an E on the end?
I will go on record as saying I think Dragonlance is bullshit. Jeff, who's been on the show, will be screaming now into the microphone or into his speakers.
Speakers at home. Yeah, well, he'll hit you on the Discord. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I don't like Dragonlance because there's it's a little bit too cutesy 90s and 80s fantasy.
Yeah, I struggle with the books a little bit for that reason.
I know nothing about
They gave us Kender.
Oh, bastards.
Wow.
Do you not know what Kender are, Terry?
They're like little halfling things, aren't
Yeah, they're halflings, but they're all kleptomaniacs.
all
I
of
hate
them.
I hate
Yeah, they do not understand the idea of ownership, so they'll just walk by and
Grab
fill their
whatever they
pockets with whatever's on the table.
Whatever they need.
That's not going to work.
Whatever they
want. Whatever
Yeah.
they want.
That's
Yeah.
not going to work. I'm a capitalist through and through, and that's not going to work for me. Okay? It's going to work for me.
But for them, literally, ownership is 100% of the law. So if it's in my possession,
It's mine.
I got it.
Yeah.
And so, fuck you. You can have it when I'm not using it anymore.
Or you
But
can take it from me.
Yeah, if I put it down, you can have it. But what? God damn, that was a playable race in previous
They're
editions.
toddlers.
Oh, that's what my character would
They're
do.
toddlers.
That's what my
that-
character would do.
That right? Goddamn. Okay, now we're gonna get a rant.
Yeah.
Should I turn off the mic?
Fuck Canada.
Thanks for listening. Bye.